the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education meeting for Wednesday, April 9th, 2014. Has this meeting been properly noticed?
Yes, it has.
Please call the roll.
Ito.
Here.
Eliason.
Here.
Garner.
Here.
Herzog.
Here.
Weinberger.
Here.
Saginaw.
Here.
Wiedenhoff.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Next, we have our Pledge of Allegiance, and tonight we will be led by 3 students from the Alps Charter School, Emerald Jean Francois, Maylie Jean Francois, and Michael Folly. Please rise and follow them in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for leading us in tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. And I have certificates of appreciation. Emerald, and Michael, and Maylie. Certainly. Sorry, I mispronounced it again. Thank you very much. As I often say, you are certainly welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but you're not required to. It's going to be rather lengthy, and a good night's sleep.
Thank you.
You can sit down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next, we have a presentation of the middle and high school art awards. That too is mine, but I will certainly have the superintendent read it.
Right. Well, we start off this evening with Stephanie Briggs. Stephanie here?
Stephanie?
Colin Leonard.
Colin?
Mute via Mag Na. Luke Sangel. Ellie Leafgren. Jessica Bluer. Vanessa Coy.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Emily Kakushka.
Congratulations.
Blake Chapman.
Congratulations. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Emily Kakushka. Mystery solved. Alicia Moss. Caitlin Miller. Claudia Benson Cortez. Justin Sorensen.
Congratulations, Justin.
Kai Lumen. Allison Hansen. Cabo Yang. Ellie Rye. Molly Kolos. Haley Balzar.
Congratulations.
Rekha Betcher.
she's my neighbor.
Brianna Novotny. Annabelle Gross.
Congratulations.
Jared Erdman.
Congratulations.
Lily Yeager. Jacob Olson.
Congratulations.
Anthony Messina. Ashley Senkavage. Parker Coco. Elisa Selkirk.
Congratulations, Alyssa. No tricks.
Natalie Ty River. Haley Ebish.
Congratulations.
Josh Merton. Sonia Carner.
I'd like to congratulate all of our participants here tonight, and if you'd like, there is a lot of the artwork displayed here this evening. Feel free to take a walk down the corridors and take a peek. Also, as I stated with the people who led us in the Pledge of Allegiance, you're not required to stay for the rest of the meeting. You're certainly welcome to, but it can be quite momentous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's the way it usually goes.
I'll defer to the two students as well.
Pardon?
Defer to our two students.
All right. At this point, we will continue. Board administrative reports, and we will start with our two student reports. Emma, do you want to proceed?
Sure. Okay, so I'll start with some highlights from our past month. Just like to extend a thank you to the City of Oshkosh for voting yes to pass the referendum. Last week was Multicultural Week. Ernesto I can't even say his last name, came and spoke for Multicultural Week. He was from Cool Speak, which is motivational speakers that go across the country and talk about their immigration stories or stories of their lives growing up and how it's influenced them to do well. It was a great speech. Every student was very engaged in it. He talked about different ways to study and how you can make those effective. There was also student presentations throughout the entire week with all of our foreign exchange students that come to North or students that have studied abroad. Talked about all the things that they had learned overseas or what the people overseas have learned from us. FBLA, there was 5 FBLA members who competed in the state competition on April 7th. Austin Jansen and Matt Luff placed 3rd in the state and 14th in the nation in virtual business. Rebecca Conner and Erica Columbia placed 5th in banking and financial systems. And Spencer Stibbs placed first in the state in personal finance and has earned his way to the National Leadership Conference in Nashville, Tennessee this June. So big congratulations to those students. Spring into spring sports and good grades. Mr. Leader had put together the averages of all the sports teams and their GPAs. And as you can see, they're all extremely, extremely high. Just like to congratulate all those students on their hard work in school and in sports. It's good to see that everybody's able to play and that good grades also play a huge role in that as well. What's to come? April 10th, the North Star Concert Wind Ensemble will be at North at 8 p.m.
Now it works. No, sorry, it works now.
Okay. And then, so this Saturday, April 12th, we'll have prom at Reeve Memorial Union from 8 to 11, and then followed by post-prom, which the hypnotist will be there. There'll be free food. There'll be a cash prize box that you can stand and grab the money, and there's a bunch of free prizes and stuff like that. So everybody, junior and senior class, are looking forward to it. April 15th, the Pops Choir concert will be performing at Alberto Kimball Auditorium at 7:30. And April 26th, the State Solo Ensemble will be held at UWO starting at 8 a.m. We have multiple students coming and going to that from from band, orchestra, and choir. And May 2nd, we'll have the Hall of Fame induction academic award ceremony at 10 a.m. in North Fieldhouse. Go, Dave.
Okay, so firstly on student government's agenda, we've got new elections. There's going to be a new type of competition. Like I told last month, we're doing this new Gmail system. Again, it's just where we have actual list where students actually submit their forms via Google. And it does save the government a lot of time and paper that we do it this way. And also it increases participation between the candidates because they physically have to make an appearance and really reach out to the students to get their votes. After elections, we have new spring proposal ideas. And basically we had this long winter stretch, and hopefully this should be the end of it. So now we can look forward to different O-room projects, courtyard promotion, which we did open up. However, we'd like to really promote it and get this running largely. The student government also has to put on more, which we love to do. We have a committee for that, and just decorations all around. It's really fun to plan and organize that. On the 16th, we have the blood drive, and hopefully we'll be getting more pints of blood than we did previously. This year's blood drives have been going extremely well. Now, with prom, we have a traditional senior and junior dance. It's just held May 3rd at the Oshkosh Convention Center. That's very popular. We also have marching band sign-up. It's a summer tradition for West. Basically, it's for all schools, North, Lourdes, and West. But mainly, we're trying to extend our reach to get this to be a widespread thing. This year, we're playing Pink Floyd and Wizard of Oz, and legend has it, if you play The Dark Side of the Moon and Pink Floyd. So it's both athletically and musically challenging. So I've been in it for 2 years, and every time it's just been lots of fun. We perform at homecoming, so that's very great. We also have Behavior Blitz. For the last week and week before, we've been celebrating our educations with a student. And how we're doing this is we're giving out prizes. We made like one complimentary video of a lot of well-known students and like club activities. We all piled it together with different reasons why we should value our education, and we showed it to the students. And so basically, the students follow this, and they see the different ways, and then we'll announce it and actually get the prizes for the students doing that. And we're using Twitter and Facebook to do that. So at Way of the Wildcat on Twitter, and you just like the Facebook page. And so our student government and largely different activities and even administration have been really stressing these different social medias because we've seen a lot of participation between the two. the famous CATS program. It's sign up now. It's for the summer. Basically, it's getting the athletic kids and kids that just really want to get up and start getting into shape. It's just 60 minutes a week, 5 days a week. And we do offer morning classes for those who are involved in summer school to make sure that they can go in the morning and just get that done with. And the classes are offered throughout the day. West's Agricultural Department. May 1st, there's a plant sale. Students are selling weekdays from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And this is run by the FFA students. We sell myriad of plants, vegetables, and much, much more. So I very encourage to go over there and see the different things that they're selling. We're having a multicultural night May 9th at West. You just entered door 24. And this celebrates the cultures in our community, which I have yet to experience. I hope I can make this. And just to get in, you have to turn in a form by Thursday, April 17th. And you can access this from our website. Thank you, and have a great Wildcat Wednesday.
All right. Thank you very much for both those reports. Are there other board members? Well, actually, I guess from here we go to the superintendent's report. So, Stan?
Yes, thank you. The superintendent's good news report for April 9th, 2014. I had the privilege actually of carrying this award back from CESA 6 for Oshkosh West being recognized as a Pacesetter School in Advanced Placement. Congratulations to Oshkosh West High School for being recognized by the Wisconsin Advanced Placement Advisory Council as a Pacesetter School in Advanced Placement. Pacesetter schools have provided impressive student access to AP courses and posted excellent AP exam results. The WAPAC is comprised of Wisconsin secondary and collegiate educators who are dedicated to expand access to AP coursework and rigorous learning for all college-bound students. Congratulations to Oshkosh West. Art in the Garden. On March 29th and 30th, student artwork from Oshkosh Northwest and Lourdes were on display at the Art in the Garden event at the Hilton Garden Inn. Community members had an opportunity to cast ballots for their favorite pieces, and awards were given to artists and our student artists at the close of the show. Congratulations to our artists in our high schools. The Oshkosh Area School District Educational Foundation Trivia Night. A number of us participated in this event. The Oshkosh Area School District Educational Foundation held its first, and we're not being so presumptuous, we haven't said first annual, but first, building community through education trivia night on Friday, March 28th. 16 teams of 8 people each participated. The Dukes of South Park won the best decorated table by creating the Dukes of Hazzard car and dressing up as Boss Hogg, Uncle Jesse, Bo and Luke Duke, and many others. The winners of the trivia night included first place Oshkosh North Scholars and a second place to the Perry Tippler Tigers. Congratulations. The Education Foundation Committee would like to thank the round sponsors, the Oshkosh Southwest Rotary, Oshkosh West Booster Club, Bergstrom GM of Oshkosh, 4 Imprint, Cabusson Bus Service, and Race Office Products. An additional thank you goes to all the school PTOs and businesses who donated items for the raffle table. It was a fun, exciting evening for those who love trivia, and I've been known to enjoy that. Oshkosh News West at West on March 26th, Oshkosh West students participated in the Business Challenge. Connor Arneson and Connor Zool took second place and earned $500 scholarships at the statewide Business Challenge on May 1st in Sheboygan. Congratulations. Congratulations also to Megan Demeyer of Oshkosh West, senior CAP Spanish student who was chosen one of 48 Spanish students in the world to receive a National Spanish Honor Society scholarship. The criteria for winning the scholarship is difficult, as students have to submit a written essay and an oral interview to be considered. And congratulations to the Oshkosh West academic team for placing second in the Wisconsin Quiz Bowl state tournament in Madison this past weekend. In the individual competition, Ben Adams placed second and Ryan Kohler placed 9th overall. Reed Elementary students participated in drum circles, a partnership with the Oshkosh Rhythm Institute. SOAR and PTO offered Reed students a chance to learn about cultural significance and stress-reducing benefits of a drum circle while working together to build a positive community. Students then created songs, written works, paintings, instruments, and sculptures to share their learning. At Tipler Middle School, a Concordia Spanish trip. Eighth grade students from Tipler boarded a bus to Bemidji, Minnesota. On why Bemidji? Because Concordia University has constructed a mini town that mirrors Spanish architecture and has developed a complete immersion experience for students learning Spanish. The trip was for 3 days. Upon arrival, the students go through customs and receive a passport. Spanish music is played in the streets, and the staff only speak Spanish with their students. The theme this year was Argentina, so students ate Argentinian cuisine and learned about the traditions and customs of Argentina. They were involved in various activities such as rugby, a ball game called pato, tango, and various crafts, giant scavenger hunt, skits, and lots of singing and dancing. The trip culminated with a Spanish banquet and discada dance. The students enjoyed meeting new friends, working in teams, and communicating in Spanish along with the appreciation of the culture. During the bus ride home, students were still speaking in Spanish, and often the bus would break into song as the students sang songs that they had learned from their new friends that they had made. Congratulations to the Oshkosh West girls varsity basketball team on being the WIAA regional champions this past season. The opportunity to participate in postseason play was certainly enjoyable for all involved. International Tabletop Day. South Park Middle School hosted an event for International Tabletop Day. The school's tabletop gaming club hosted several games and taught ones that they learned over the year, such as Truso, Forbidden Island, Tekanako, and Small World. The event was open to all students and celebrated wonderful effects games have on students, their families, and the community. The club raised money to host the event and offered raffle prizes such as favorite games of the club and Funko Pop dolls. Tabletop game members who helped make the event a success were Drew Best, Keegan Klein, Josh Crawford, Mackenzie Galika, Joey Potretz, Kali Sobolewski, Anna Wagner, Jack Wagner, Jaden Wright, 6th and 7th grade literacy teacher Sarah Vanella, club advisor, helped the students organize the event and learn how they could set up gaming in a convention-style activity. Lakeside, 2nd grade, make a splash at the YMCA. The Lakeside second graders participated in the YMCA's splash program. The students had 6 weeks of lessons on swimming basics and water safety. These pictures show students learning how to properly put on life vests and use rescue techniques to help someone in trouble. Students had a blast and made great strides. Students also wrote thank yous letters to the YMCA staff in appreciation of helping them learning how to swim. Paul Southplug, OW Oshkosh West High School teacher, is accepted into the 2014 Supreme Court Summer Institute for Teachers. Since it began in 1995, the Supreme Court Summer Institute for Teachers has brought together over 950 teachers from across the country to convene in Washington, D.C. for 6 days of educational activities related to teaching about the United States Supreme Court. The Institute is co-sponsored by the Supreme Court Historical Society. The Institute includes sessions led by the Supreme Court experts, journalists, authors, and attorneys who give teachers an in-depth understanding of how the court chooses and decides cases and what it's like to argue before the court. The Institute covers 6 current or recent cases. The exciting opportunity accumulates with visit to the court, hear decisions handed down, and a private reception at the court. The Institute prepares teachers to use innovative teaching methods with current and past cases. Beyond the content-rich sessions, the activities, teachers are also equipped with the skills and tools to train fellow teachers back at home. Congratulations to Paul for that opportunity. A week ago, Monday night, we celebrated education in the community, which took place March 31st between 4:30 and 6 p.m. to honor school staff members, administrators, and volunteers. Honorees include recipients of education grants, the RUDE Awards, and the OASD Employee of the Year Awards. The following are individuals who are identified, and we're planning to host them at a future meeting. Jennifer Wolf from Smith Elementary, Jan Wagner from E. Cook and Smith, Emily Zapata from C. Traeger from Traeger Elementary, and Jamie Parma, Jonathan Peterson, Nick Mees, Angie Plum Keys, Erwin Duell, Jill Williams, and Leanne Morrell. And the Rotary recipients include Oshkosh North High School, Heather Potashnik, and Family and Consumer Science teacher Cinda Cease, physical education teacher in Oshkosh West High School, Chris Arps, and technology education in Christine Levy in English. It was a great event to celebrate education, and it's a wonderful cooperative effort between all the schools within Oshkosh. Lastly, you'll find my calendar for the past 2-week period, outlining activities that I've been participating in or attending. With that, completes my report. President Matt?
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Next, we have other reports. Do other board members have reports of subcommittees? Barb?
Just very briefly, the Administrative Compensation Committee met, I believe it was last week, yes it was, and we had a couple of agenda items we'll be following up on, and we'll be bringing things back to the board. First, policy and governance for a couple of tweaks. I'm working with Mike Nald, and we'll bring those to the board in the future. Thank you.
Sounds good. Any other boards, or excuse me, any other committees? Committee reports? Seeing none. First workshop, Affordable Care Act. We do have 5 workshops tonight, so
Yes.
just say that ahead of time in hopes that there'll be some brevity.
We're going to move, but hopefully it won't be that long. Just let me do some introductions first, please. Of course, you know Susan on the far left. Al Yeager, AFG consultant. And Al and I have been, and Sue have been working together for about the past year. Al puts on these weekly conference calls that districts and state schools from in the state all call in, and sometimes there's 5 schools, sometimes there's 50, 20 schools on those calls, so they've been very, very helpful. In the middle here is Brett McKintrick, and Brett is an attorney with AFG, and Brett has done numerous webinars that we've been party to, and the fact of the matter is they've both been extremely helpful with keeping the Oshkosh School District apprised of the Affordable Care Act and its implications going forward. Here on my left is Kelly Kugelich of Davis and Kielthal. Kelly is Davis and Kielthal's Affordable Care Act specialist with him. Tonight, we're going to do a presentation basically on the Affordable Care Act and share aspects of the ACA that possibly have implications for the Oshkosh Area School District. So with that, I think I would just like to turn it over to Al or Brett, whoever wants to start, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so from an overall agenda standpoint, obviously the main overview of healthcare reform is where we'll make it relatively brief as far as addressing it. And the components that Brett will go through aren't dissimilar. There's been updates since, but dissimilar from what we presented late last summer when we were talking through some of the strategies and approaches as far as the Affordable Care Act. Meanwhile, second part that I'll touch on will be the specifics that we look at from an employer standpoint year by year by year as part of a strategy, pay versus play. It's a fundamental question that now that we have the marketplace made available, that we know we need to ask ourselves and assess. And last year, late last July when we did the workshop, at that point in time there were significant unknowns as to what the marketplace would bear, and that year by year that will continue to clear up, and then some marketplace examples in the next steps. So, turn it over to Brett.
Okay, thanks, guys. Well, we will keep this brief. I mean, we could sit here and talk about healthcare reform all evening. So, jump in with questions. We're not going to go over every word on every slide. We partly built these for your reference later to review. But I'm just going to give a quick overview of the player pay penalty, sort of the focus of a large employer, which you guys obviously are, and then also just present to you a brief snapshot of our analysis that we go through with public entities and a number of private sector entities alike as they're looking at in the future the question of, do we want to offer health care as an employer, group-sponsored health insurance in the future? And just kind of paint that picture for you. And then now we can get into some more specifics about how that conversation applies to your district. First and foremost, what player pay means is, as an employer of 100 or more full-time employees or equivalents, beginning in 2015, we have to determine whether we want to pay a penalty or offer coverage to our full-time employees. That looks like this, basically, and this explains what transition relief is, more or less. I'll give a short example of this in the next slide, where the two penalties that we're up against as a large employer, and we can call these obligations, we call them penalties, are really decision points. Calling them a penalty doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing, but it is the alternative to offering health care coverage. There are many, quote unquote, consequences or effects of not offering health care coverage, but the one that the Affordable Care Act is concerned with is the fact that you would owe or potentially owe a penalty to the federal government in this amount. So basically in 2015, if you choose not to offer coverage to at least 70% of your full-time employees, full-time being defined as 30 hours a week or more, and their dependents, and if one of those people goes to the individual exchange and receives a premium subsidy through that exchange, then you would face a penalty basically in that amount. The penalty, we've annualized it for simplification there on the right side, and that's the penalty that would be applied monthly. That 70% in the far left box shoots up to 95% in 2016. That's sort of your first area of obligation. Do you offer coverage or do you pay a penalty? The second area of obligation, if you decide to offer coverage to your employees, is the government asks the question more or less, is it considered to be affordable or not? And that's a threshold determined by the government, and affordability is based on the cost of single coverage for an employee, and if you offer multiple types of plans, it would be the cheapest plan for that employee concerned with what they pay, the employee portion of that coverage, measured against their household income. And if that cost exceeds 9.5% of their household income, what that means is, and again, as that mailbox shows, at least one of those people goes to the exchange and receives a subsidy, then you would owe a penalty on that individual. The difference between the two potential penalties is the first one would be the mathematical formula times all of your full-time employees minus a few you get for free. The second being more of an individual penalty. So if it might not be unaffordable for Al as an employee, but maybe unaffordable for me, you would owe it just on me. That's kind of what we're up against in this overall decision. So and this is a snapshot part I was talking to you about, what we often talk to a number of our clients, again, public sector and private alike, is, do you want to offer health insurance? Are you choosing to pay this penalty, or are you choosing to continue to offer health insurance? And we approach it from the analysis of, well, why have you always offered health insurance, and why do you offer it today? And sort of having that in mind, I mean, oftentimes we haven't thought of benefits planning or offering benefits in the context of strategic planning. Now, with healthcare reform, we're really having to look at it a lot deeper than than we have. And I always kind of think about benefits and strategy in the context of kind of finding that middle ground between cost, compliance, and culture, because all of those things, and you know, if you even think of that in a Venn diagram, you know, some of those circles might be larger for some employers than others and more meaningful than other employers. But basically, those are kind of the three big C's, as we call them, the three big things that affect how any employer does or what any employer does in terms of offering benefits. So we approach it as, why do you offer coverage today? And then from the second point in the last bubble there, how does healthcare reform really change your answer? Or does it change your answer? So these are some of the quote-unquote softer things, although very meaningful things, and we can approach it from two different large angles here in terms of fiscally, what's the difference between offering health coverage and not offering health coverage, in terms of what's the bottom line impact on the dollar on your budget, and then also from the standpoint of, well, if we agree that some of the reason we offer health benefits is that it's an overall, you know, a piece of your overall compensation pie, it's there to attract and retain employees. And if we take away that piece of that pie and don't offer health coverage, again, no right or wrong there necessarily, but why are we taking that piece away, number one, and what are we going to do to fill that void? Obviously, you know, nothing could be done to fill that void. That would be a pretty significant portion of someone's overall compensation. So if we think of, okay, do we just fill it with cash and gross them up? What are some of the alternatives there? How does that look, again, from a competition standpoint of attracting the right employees if District A offers coverage and District B does not? And then just from a bottom line example, and this is what some of these things are when I ask the question, how do we fill that hole? How do we fill that void that we've taken the health benefits from? Again, one of the easiest things, there's multiple ways of doing this, but one of the easiest and more common things is increase salary, increase wages, gross people up, maybe not dollar for dollar of what the value of health coverage was, but in some amount. And even from just a bottom line of budgetary circumstance, what we're trying to explain to our clients is, again, no right or wrong answer here, but are we comparing apples to apples when we look at that? And if we take away health insurance and maybe gross people up in compensation, well, that's now taxable compensation to the employee instead of tax-free benefits. Both sides have payroll taxes that we have to think about. And then we could go down the line to some maybe unthought of or unintended consequences, like even, I think I use it here. Oh yeah, there is a third bullet point. Take a workers' comp, what's our workers' compensation premium based on? Our mod rating times what? Well, our salaries. And so if we gross up everyone's salary, now we're increasing things like that. And if you have any other benefits tied to salary, you know, those are just factors to take into consideration. So as you guys probably already have, and as you guys continue to analyze why are we offering coverage today, what about healthcare reform changes that analysis. These are just some of the things that we help our clients look at, both from the recruitment retention side of things, how it looks, public perception, which are all important for a school district certainly, and then from a dollar, cost dollar analysis, which I will get into.
Thank you. Yep. So from a cost dollar analysis, this is one of two specific slides. We have a 41-point audit that we checked various compliance categories that we went through. This was 2 pages of that audit, and specifically, you know, it builds in, you can design it and build it in however you so choose, but to Brett's point, it's the financials of pay versus play. So without, and I'd be glad to go through all the specific details if you so choose, but in the end, the main point is if you pay off the top, you pay effectively a penalty of, call it $2.4 million. I shouldn't use the word penalty, but whatever you want to call it. Alternative that provides you the right to not offer health coverage based on your size. Okay, so above and beyond that, what this scenario suggested is, okay, if you gross up, as Brett termed it, to the level of what you contribute to the single currently in a given year, you see as an employer, you now have an expenditure of $10,900,000 versus if you play as present day, you're spending about a little over $17 million. Okay, so from a financial standpoint, obviously in this scenario, you come out from a district, you come out ahead. Meanwhile, from an employee standpoint, one of the big unknowns when we conducted this audit last time was, what's the impact to each and every individual? Well, frankly, the rates are different for each and every individual. One of the beauties of the marketplace is they can customize to their situation. One of the negatives is it's age, it's scaled by age. So this approach can certainly benefit one age category significantly more than another age category. But main point being, they also have some additional taxes, and for the most part, what you see are additional payroll taxes from FICA or overall income taxes. So from an employee standpoint, there'd be an additional, call it 2.7 million in additional costs. And so the main unknown that's not even factored into this equation is ultimately the cost to the employees. Meanwhile, the next slide.
Let me ask a question at this point.
By all means.
These assumptions are based on the notion that any additional compensation in lieu of health care coverage to an employee would not be put into a tax-deferred investment vehicle. That would be taken as direct annual income subject to federal and state income tax. Right?
It has to be.
Yeah.
The employee can choose to put it in a
Right.
tax deferred, but from an employer standpoint, we have to pay
Right.
it.
I'm just saying an employee may not be subject to these rates if they chose to defer to a long-term investment vehicle that was tax-deferred on 401k and IRA. Right? I just want to make sure we're speaking of that.
Afford.
Absolutely.
Right, correct,
Right.
but absolutely, yes.
And the other piece is from a, and then the next slide just uses the same approach if you were to fund it at a family. So in other words, this approach, now all of a sudden, if you funded everyone at the family level that you currently pay, it would cost obviously more than what your current costing is. So again, I can certainly go into the nitty-gritty details of the whole discussion, but to summarize, the analysis is just part of the year-by-year discussion of does it make more sense to pay or play. Well, financially, you can make an argument one way or the other, but the other pieces of the equation are, okay, how much would the coverage cost more for the rest of the staff members? And as we assess the marketplace, as we get more and more information, one of the things you'll hear more and more about are the employers, large employers setting up private exchanges, or we've created service models so employers that are considering disbanding. One of the things as an employer, if you disband, so to speak, or don't offer your district-sponsored plan, we have a couple of attorneys here. I mean, one of the main things that is suggested that you can't give advice, obviously, for what benefits to take or what to take on the exchange. So what the private exchange models that you're seeing created are, okay, who do we have help guide our staff members through what selection to take on the exchange? Meanwhile, as we look on the marketplace, you have 861 employees in Winnebago County. We look at what the options are, and you see Arise, Anthem, Common Ground, and Molina Healthcare of Wisconsin as far as considerations. And there's different coverages available at different levels between the single and the family coverage. Probably the main observation is none of the current options have the same breadth of providers available to it. It's not as all-inclusive as what you have with your group plan. And there's certainly some comparison when you look at this point, an individual age 45, household income. Why do we start categorizing by income? Well, the lower the income, there's opportunity from a subsidy standpoint if they're not made, if coverage isn't made available. So those all come into the equation. But in the end, when we looked across the board at coverage comparisons, you can get a sense here as to what's available at a platinum, and gold, and silver from a plan design versus your current plan design, as well as various rates. Probably the biggest difference, one is pre-tax versus the others that most likely would be after tax. Again, I don't know if you want me to go through more detail as to what the specific plans are, case by case, but I think the main takeaway is some individuals may come out ahead. Many individuals may not, if you were to take this approach.
Can you give a general feeling of what the planned coverage is versus what we are offering today? I mean, are there substantial differences in what's covered?
There are differences. I would say the biggest initial observation is just which providers are available as far as which doctors, clinics are available on the options versus your current plan. Your current plan is very all-inclusive. The ones that are on the marketplace at this point are more restrictive from a provider standpoint. Beyond that, from a platinum level, your current plan with your HRA basically makes the maximum out-of-pocket deductible at $250, and you'll see, and it's covered 100% after that. Now it does have a max out-of-pocket now with ACA that you'll see the $52.50. That includes prescription drugs and everything else from a copay standpoint. But in the end, after $250 in deductible exposure, the HRA covers the balance. Meanwhile, when you look at some of the other plans, they have additional co-insurance at 80% until they spend $1,250 out of pocket.
Can I interject something
Please.
just quickly? One other thing to answer your question is sort of comparing what's out there on the exchange versus the group-sponsored coverage. You know, Al mentioned an HRA. Under rules under the Affordable Care Act, an employer is unable to sponsor an HRA without sponsoring a group health plan. So there's no way for us to reimburse our employees for any out-of-pocket expenses in a tax-free fashion. I'm talking about if they are to go to the exchange. And if we stop offering coverage, then they're to go to the exchange. The second thing, along with that, again, from a tax side of things, there's no way for us to legally reimburse that employee for the cost of premiums for individual coverage on the exchange. So,
other than to simply up their salary.
Right.
Without doubt, but I'm just telling you, those are some other differences that the employee would naturally notice, you know, in the difference between choosing an exchange plan versus group coverage.
I think the other answer to your question is the coverage is very similar in all of these plans because the Affordable Care Act mandates coverages. What's really different, though, is all of the copay stuff and the deductibles. So you can save yourself premium money by having higher copays and higher deductibles. But the basic things are all covered under every plan. You can just affect your premium by changing different copays and deductibles.
Okay. That does answer it. Thank you.
Thank you. And this just provides another comparison, but more at a family level. And main conclusion there, once again, is a lot of the coverages are, whether it's at 80% higher co-insurances, higher out-of-pockets on co-pays, and not necessarily as safe. One of the key pieces as we develop multi-year strategies, which several years back we had, call it a 4 to 5 year strategic planning, and one of the thought processes that many districts are doing now is multi-year planning. And part of the reason, when you look at this graph, these are fees that as a district, part of your premiums that you pay go toward. And the bottom line one, the ACA reinsurance fee that you see is $242,000 in 2014, $169,000 in 2015, $121,000 in 16, and then $0 in 2017. The main purpose of that is the stabilization of the marketplace plans. So a lot of these carriers that provide coverages on the individual marketplace, part of the reason they're comfortable to jump into the marketplace and say, we're guaranteeing everyone coverage without any underwriting, is the fact that those fees provide a stop loss. Well, in 2017, there's nothing noted that they continued to obtain that stop loss, which is why we pay so much attention to, are we getting to that critical mass in the marketplace to make sure they have enough critical mass to distribute the risk, because that's frankly what a lot of employers, large employers, are kind of paying attention to. And once we are comfortable that we hit that point, there's a lot more comfort that there's not, we don't go into the exchange and all of a sudden have substantial increases. And this just speaks to what we had designed in the past from a multi-year roadmap as to, you know, what we looked at for key areas of consideration, and again, from a next steps and thought process, would be just makes all the more sense each and every year when you're considering to figure out, you know, whether it's if and when and how makes the most sense as to how you're trying to attract and retain the best quality staff that you seek to do so.
Okay, now that they've given their presentation, I thought I would just add my comments. And first, I don't have any reason to question their analysis or numbers. And I can confirm, and also taking my experience having the benefits discussion with other districts throughout the state, that really what has happened, what both the Affordable Care Act and Act 10, frankly, have caused is a major shift in how benefits are decided and how they have to be considered strategically. So now there are not only these Affordable Care Act considerations and the penalties and employees facing the individual mandate, we also have a whole other dynamic with, now that benefits are not collectively bargained, a bunch of IRS non-discrimination rules apply to different types of savings vehicles. So you had a comment about a long-term tax-deferred savings vehicle, and I just want to throw out there, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't, that's another issue that would require a separate analysis. As districts kind of feel their way through these new rules, I have more than once seen, decision-making that goes along the lines of, oh, we can't pay it this way, well, we'll just pay it that way. And then there's not sometimes appreciation of the level of regulation that surrounds the other option, and so sometimes we get into a violation situation, and it can kind of go on that way for a while as quick decisions are made. So I'm just saying, if it's tax deferred, just to be aware there are a lot of IRS strings attached. It's also a time, though, certainly that districts have new opportunities to find what may work for them better. And I guess the big picture comment that I would leave you with is that it's a business decision, what the district is going to do with its employee benefits. We know I have here a statement from MetLife's 12th annual U.S. Employee Benefit Trends Study. That's just one of them. Survey after survey that I see says what this one says here. Employees who are very satisfied with their benefits are more than twice as likely to report being satisfied with their jobs. So it's a business decision to keep or not keep coverage, but it's one that is more than just a bottom line cost decision. There are these tax elements, and then there's a very large part of the consideration is retention and recruiting. And so, if benefits could be dropped, but just I would be very mindful of the fact that if all the other surrounding districts have them, there might be some retention concerns.
I just had a really quick question. I know we have a tight kind of schedule. However, I'd really like to just know for my comprehension, financially speaking and individually speaking, I was wondering where competition plays a role in, like, if somebody were to enter our district, like looking for a job, where would a financial benefit or an individual benefit come into play? Because I know there are both pros and cons to both, but financially speaking, individually speaking, which one would be better to aim for to like kind of beat out the competition that we have?
I would say it depends on the individual completely. So if the question is, what is more attractive, benefits or pay? Is that part kind of the...
Yeah.
I would say it absolutely depends on the individual you're trying to attract. Meanwhile, if I'm just coming out of college I know what I want, right? Now, if I have a family, numerous children, I know what I want. Or if I'm nearing retirement, I know what I want, right? So the answer to the question, great question, but the answer to the question really depends on the individual situation.
Okay. And to Al's point, I spent a lot of time advising school districts and private companies on the differences in generational hiring and who you're looking to attract. And are you trying to attract that tough-to-find Chemistry 2 teacher with maybe 15 plus years experience, or are you trying to attract a number of quote-unquote millennials to fill that gap that Generation X doesn't have the population to fill once the baby boomers enter into retirement? And those type of people, to Al's point, I mean, are looking for very different things in a lot of ways. And not to say it's another analysis point, but it really is. When you're looking down the future and you look in these large gaps that you're going to have in your staff and in your teachers, what is going to matter to those people? And I think that's analysis worth considering as well.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? All right. Well, I know I found this informative, so I thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. Next on our list is Lakeside Green Meadow survey results. UW Consultants, Gunlock and Shore.
All right, hello. I'm Kim Biederman. I'm the Outreach Program Manager for UW Oshkosh's Business Success Center. Dr. Mack had approached me several months ago about working with the district on a survey for Lakeside School District, or Lakeside Green Meadow to be more specific. And I had contacted both Jennifer Considine and Andrew Smock to work on the survey. So they're going to talk about the survey results. We did the survey about a month ago in February. And they will talk about the approach of the survey and their findings.
So I'll start talking a little bit about our methodology in conducting the survey. We had two different phases. The first phase consisted of what we call a backpack survey. We sent a copy of the survey home with every student that is currently attending Lakeside Green Meadow, and they gave it to their parents, and we had a fairly decent response rate. You can see on the slide, we had 154 return surveys. The second phase of the survey was a phone survey, working with volunteers from the Lakeside Green Meadow PTO. We conducted 101 surveys that reached out to a slightly different population, which was our goal. We knew with the backpack survey we would reach current parents and be able to get the important feedback that only they could give us. And with the phone survey, we knew we could reach other aspects of the Lakeside Green Meadow community. And specifically, what we found with the phone survey is that we were reaching people who had previously had children attend either Lakeside or Green Meadow. Typically, they tended to be people who were somewhat older, done having children, and provided a nice comparison for us to that first data set. The survey had a number of measures on it, looking at the number of students the respondent currently had enrolled in the school, as well as a number of attitudinal items looking at how people felt about the future of the Lakeside Green Meadow School, what they thought should happen with that school, as well as addressing features of the school they felt were most important. Wrapping the survey up was an open-ended question that was meant to dig a little bit deeper to see if there were any additional concerns from that community. And as we go through today, we'll talk about results from both the quantitative and the qualitative aspects of of our study. In terms of data management and analysis, we used for the statistical analysis a program called SPSS that allowed us to very quickly generate some percentages that we'll be looking at today, as well as confirm that there weren't any issues with our data. And then we also used Atlas TI, which is a nice little software package that allows us to analyze open-ended responses. So essentially looking for themes in those responses to see what would emerge.
So we'll get to our results. One of the first findings was that there's great community support, in fact, for the Lakeside Green Meadow School. We had 126 total comments to our open-ended question, and 18 of these really supported the central role of Lakeside Green Meadow in the community, particularly the Lakeside School. So the survey data, 90% of respondents agreed that it is important for the Lakeside Green Meadow community to have their own K-5 elementary school. 75% of respondents agreed that the sense of history is personally important to them. And then 90% of respondents with children beginning elementary school in the next 5 years. So we wanted to get a bit of a sense of looking forward, if you do have children that will be in the school, where would you want them to go? And prefer that their children attend Lakeside for at least some part of their schooling. The majority of those preferred that they attend Lakeside as a K-5. Some of the comments, it's not only important to help Lakeside become a K-5 school, but it's equally important for the South Side to have a school that embraces a sense of community. An open-ended comment from the backpack survey. Also had similar comments from the phone survey. Lakeside School has a pretty good history in Black Wolf. It's important to the people out here, and it needs to stay. So equal support from both the backpack survey and the phone survey of others in the community. Our second finding was a commitment to preserving and expanding Lakeside. 85% of respondents agreed that the school district should build an addition to the Lakeside building, allowing it to return to being a K-5 school. And again, this was shared, pretty equal commitment from both the phone survey and the backpack survey. We asked about closing Green Meadow School, and 93% of respondents said don't do that. I think Lakeside is a great school and has given my son a wonderful experience. Thank you. Please expand Lakeside. There were 74 of the 126 comments displayed a commitment to Lakeside. 33 of them explicitly supported an expansion. Quality teachers with manageable class sizes are so important. Lakeside Green Meadow would be best able to meet students' needs by being together at one location. Staff collaboration and seamlessness would be enhanced, which would have a positive impact on learning, our sense of community, and pride in our schools. And then Andrew had mentioned that we talked to a lot of people who had previously had children at Lakeside. My children went to Lakeside a long time ago. I'm happy to see the article in the paper about possibly adding on. It made me proud. You want to talk a little bit about preferred school features?
Sure. So we surveyed about a number of preferred school features, and we'll highlight some here this evening. The first of those being quality teachers in small classes. In terms of a percentage, 99.6% of our respondents rated quality teaching as being very important, with 38 responses rating quality teaching. 38 responses ranking it as extremely important. I lost my place here. Very important, and 214 looking at it as extremely important. The key point being that there's one person, kind of an outlier here, who's not seen this as an important issue. We want our children to go to a smaller school. We are 1 mile from Traeger. We could do open enrollment, however, we want our kids to attend Lakeside and be essentially in a smaller school building. The size of any addition would be a concern for us. That was a backpack response.
And this is a quote that I chose particularly to place on there because while there was very, very strong support for the addition, I think there will be a few that are concerned. They love Lakeside because it is a small rural school, and seeing it get too big may be a concern for some of the people. Small country schools equals better education. Rural families should have their own schools. They shouldn't have long bus rides into town. Small schools equals you know your families, teachers, principals, develop personal relationships, and teachers can be more effective with smaller classes. So a big and not altogether surprising finding there. Access to technology was very strongly supported in the survey data, not mentioned in the open-ended responses, but very strong support in the survey data. Safety also was mentioned as very, very important in the survey data. Only had 2 open-ended responses. Opportunities for physical recreation and green space was mentioned in a couple of the comments, kind of celebrating just where Lakeside is and that location and the opportunities that it presents. The last two things then to address really came out of the open-ended comments, and I'll chat on those because that's the part of that I did the analysis. One of the key concerns that came out, and there were 19 comments here, so other than let's keep Lakeside around, this was the biggest concern in the additional comments. Real concerns about transportation and bus rides, so my additional concern is the length of the bus ride. Talking about how my kids don't ride the bus, now our bus ride is crazy since we're 5 minutes from the school. Another parent expressed concern about having one student at Lakeside and one at Green Meadow makes it really difficult for pickup when they get done at the same time. And even some of the phone surveys, people said, I'm not a fan of busing the kids around. It's like a factory. Let's have smaller bus trips being better. So that was one of the key concerns. The other key concern that came up, and again, really strong support for expansion, but I think how that's talked about became important. There were a good number of comments that just talked about this sense of I feel getting jerked around, this comment says, and really the sense of I want to see this happen in terms of a larger plan and how does it fit into a larger plan of what we're going to do. So that's just a comment that I wanted to include as we talk about how we move forward here. And we should also say maybe a thank you to the PTO and the parents who really helped out in doing the survey. Did a great job helping us.
And this was done within the Lakeside Green Meadow attendance area only?
Only.
Right.
Yes, that is correct.
And I would also like to just thank our leadership coming from the business partner group with University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. It's one of several measures of partnerships we're working on together to deal with. We're also proceeding with a plan on open enrollment surveying as well, which will provide for us excellent data as well as to causation and rationale, but it's also part of our strategic plan of increasing our partnership with a wonderful institution we have in our community that for far too long we haven't had partnerships with. And I'm grateful for our three staff members from the university for their participation in this process. It's really refreshing to have that work go on in such a positive fashion.
John, you have a question?
Just one quick one. The stuff on small schools, was there any definition of a small school up to 150, up to 250, up to 350? What do they have in mind when they're talking about a small school?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. It wasn't something that we asked on the survey, so we didn't, kind of frame it as this is a small school. And so it's difficult really to respond to that. I think everyone probably has a slightly different idea of what that means.
Other comments? Questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 3, Expand Riverside Program, Gagley and Lisa Leader.
Linda went to retrieve them. So.
Well, can we just move to the next one?
I will move to the next two. Yeah.
All right, I guess we can move on to the next one then. We'll come back to expanding Riverside. Behavior programs?
We move far too fast for the anticipation of time frames, so, but
We have a team coming. We're sitting in another room. I think, I don't know where they are. Should we do this?
Yes, please. Sit.
There you go.
Well, we move on to number 5. No, just kidding. start without them, or?
I can start.
Here they come, and they're really
All right.
excited.
Well, we have several teachers who are going to be joining us, so we'll kind of introduce as we go along. But we really wanted to share today the relationship-based behavior management with all of you today. So really, the overview of all of this is we want to show how our PBIS framework and our conscious discipline all fit together. Really, PBIS is the framework. Conscious discipline is the mindset that we're trying to help teachers get. And then we have our district behavior interventionists that are helping us focus on that and make sure it's all data-driven, and so that we have those positive impacts. So joining us at the table, Shannon Morrell is one of our behavior interventionists, along with Darcy. And Susan Martin is a principal at Washington, and Margie Bannon Bogart is our PBIS coach or coordinator for the district. So.
Hello. Okay, you already did that first slide. Oh, goodness. Okay, so this is just something for us to think about before we get started. I think it's important for us to really identify and think about the kids that are sitting in our classrooms. And you can look at that from a wide range of perspectives. One, even just being a kindergartner. A kindergartner who enters kindergarten in September, who just had their birthday in August, is a lot different than that same kindergartner who had their birthday in, let's say, October the year before. So developmentally, socially, emotionally, there's a lot of diverse needs in all of our classrooms, and that follows kids all the way up, K-5, differences in age gaps. In addition to that, the world is just a bit of a different place than it used to be. Parents both have to work full time to make ends meet. There's not a mom at home anymore for kids. Families look different today. There's many different kinds of families, and our students go to different places on weekends, and there's just a lot of diverse needs in our classroom. And so that has caused an evolution in how we respond and teach and work with kids.
So here's just a quote. If a child doesn't know how to read, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to swim, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to multiply, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to drive, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to behave, we teach. No. Punish? Why can't we finish the last sentence as automatically as we do with the others? And so that is a change in mindset sometimes for people. And so that is something that we're moving into, and that's what it is.
For those of you that like to read research, please look up Dr. Sagai, and also there is, what is his name, Rob Horner. And they established PBIS in 1996 through the Department of Special Education and Regular Education. So there's a lot. And obviously, you're going to hear more of these in the slides coming up, but it's proactive, it's systematic. It's for all students. It's a social culture. You hear us say relationships, relationships, relationships. We know that's what matters. It matters to us as adults. It still matters to kids as it always has. You want to click it one by one, or you want to put them all? Let's just do it all. Okay. So one thing I want to say is PBIS, which the long acronym, the whole word, positive behavioral interventions and supports. And it really is the umbrella, the framework, the roof, the frame of the house, but you need all those things that go underneath it, and that's where all of the other things fit in. The ultimate goals for PBIS are increase in academic achievement, improve school safety, decrease problem behavior, and build a positive school climate. It works in a system, and the system actually, again, emphasizing prevention. Prevention, positive discipline, versus reacting to the problems after they happen. Put it in at the forefront, spend a lot of time there, you're not going to be spending it later on. The data, and this is a piece I feel that is very different than how we've operated in the past. I'm a former teacher and counselor. We use data in this program to support decision making. So instead of just deciding that, you know what, the kids have been acting up, but if we all start wearing school t-shirts on Friday, I bet that'll work. Well, it works for about a week, right? So the point is, use data. Two types of data. Implementation data is what staff uses to check on themselves. Are we doing what we say we're going to do? So we have fidelity checks. We take surveys continuously. And then there's outcome data where we track the students to say individually are the students and the students as a whole, are they learning from our universal expectations? Is it working? So we're continuing that. The systems are what we put in place to support the staff. So there are policies and there are what do I want to say? Policies, moving right along, folks. Procedures, all the data review, action planning, all those pieces that need to be in place. And you can't simply say, we know this matters, teachers, now go do it. They need to have these systems in place. So that is what that's for. And then there are specific pieces I'll speak to in a few minutes. And then the practices are what supports the students. So that is we're specifically teaching specific behaviors for each area in the school instead of assuming they just know how to behave in the bathroom or they know how to behave in the hallway or what we expect in the lunchroom. So that's in there. And another big part for the students is that we have increased rates of behavior feedback when you're teaching that skill. So continually giving them the feedback until they have mastered it and they can self-monitor themselves. So lots of good feedback. The whole thing is we want outcomes. The outcome is social competence, as Susan spoke to, and academic achievement. And one of the nice things about the outcomes is every single school you're going to walk into, which I hope at some point you will be visiting a lot of the schools, and it'll be different in every school. What outcome they want to target depends on their school climate. They may need to reduce a problem behavior. They're working on graduation rates. Maybe it's not a safe spot and they want to work on that. So it's going to be individual according to the data that they have. And then I think this piece is very important. When you reduce the use of negative consequences and instead focus on prevention and good teaching and reteaching, a school can recover multiple days of academic time in the classroom rather than sending those little buggers out and they're not getting anything done. So I think that's a very important part.
So, Mark, you just spoke a lot about this, but the whole reason why should a school put PBIS in place? Why should they do a uniform system? Because we want to work smarter, not harder. So when a school comes together as a team and they create, establish, and reinforce universal behavior practices, it leads to better outcomes for all students. And it creates that air in the school of, this isn't how you do it in your classroom and I do it in mine. This is how we do business in our school.
There's lots of schools that are implementing it in the state of Wisconsin. And this shows, you can see the timeline. We've gradually had more schools trained. In just 2 years' time, we have approximately half of our schools that are now trained. At the end of this school year, we will have all the middle schools trained, and that's exciting. And Tier 2 training, we didn't go into the tiers, but the universal training should pretty much meet 80% of the school needs, but we'll be able to move into Tier 2.
And then the conscious discipline mindset sharing has really been shared with almost all of our elementary schools, at least an initial introduction to what it is. So,
and this is it's nice for us to be able to share this because probably you've had these discussions and we hear it constantly in the schools that PBIS is one thing and conscious discipline is another and love and logic is another, and it's simply not that. That's why we have a framework and a system, and all of these pieces just help support that. Yeah, the mindset.
So, which is interesting, one staff member, I just don't have time and effort to implement all of these positive behavioral strategies. And it's like the farmer who says, I just don't have the time and effort to build a fence. I'm way too busy chasing the cows. So we're trying to help you with that.
One thing that's really works is a school-wide behavioral matrix. And the school, again, each school is going to look different. But they define and they teach what is expected in all of the different areas of the school so that there is that common buy-in. There's also, just as we teach reading and we teach math, in this format, this framework, we teach the behaviors. So there are lessons being taught school-wide. And instead of just the counselor coming in each lesson, these are teachers teaching it in their classroom, and they're all getting the same message delivered weekly. And it works. It's just exciting to see. And some of the things, so if you become a PBIS school, very quickly, these are some of the things. You're definitely going to create that common language so everyone is on the same page. Acknowledging the positive. There's so much power in simply saying, and I heard you say this when you visited school.
At a high school, Kiffmeyer, who's the dean over at North, I was walking swiftly down the hall, and she said, "Thank you for removing your hat," like really quick. And all the kids in the hall who were coming in from outside quickly removed it. There was no notice. I mean, it is amazing, and I certainly have seen it in the elementaries and middle schools as well.
Right, and then you'll hear something like acknowledging the positive as well, and and it isn't you'll hear some people that are opposed to PBIS will say it's a token that you're constantly handing them things and that's why they behave. It can be verbal. It doesn't have to be that, but there is acknowledging that positive. And as you said, you see all the little ones coming out of the bathroom possibly or the lunchroom, and instead of going, rah, rah, rah,
thank you for walking, the kid that's running will stop if you say thank you for walking.
So, just remembering that. And as we also know, a lot of that is not just, it isn't our students, and our young students can appreciate this, it's our staff that need to also change the mindset and do things differently. So we talked about the school matrix, but this is also important is the classroom matrix. Every single classroom spends that time at the beginning of the year and sets those procedures. So instead of yelling about the way you've handed in your paper or the way a pencil is sharpened, the way you enter a classroom, how do you handle these things, all of that is laid out. Every one of those is going to be different depending on that classroom. A music classroom is going to operate different than a shop class or than the regular elementary classroom. But it's all there and it's taught. And parents have said they appreciate that almost whatever is on that list, almost anything that occurs can be gone back to that and it's used as a teaching tool. So it's all good. And data again and teaching, reteaching.
So here's some more research for you to look at. This is just the result of a study that was conducted with managers and companies out in the workplace of what they look for in their potential hires in terms of social competencies. So as educators, it's our responsibility to not only provide our students with the academic skills they need, but they also need to leave our school district with these social competencies so that they can be gainfully employed and be positive contributors to society. So it's just another good reason for why. So when we talk about this and we think about why we need to shift our thinking from the old system of discipline to a relationship-based or positive-based discipline system, on the left you can see that was our old way of thinking. We used to believe that rules were what governed behavior and that conflicts were disruptions and those students were sent out of classrooms. And that fear was what we used to control the children that were in our classrooms. And we now know differently. We know that it is relationships and connectedness that is what governs our behaviors, and that we need to help students and create problem solvers, and that by empowering teachers and students to control themselves, they can relate to each other. So conflict is now an opportunity for teaching, not something that is a disruption to learning. And I think this speaks to why. By creating students that are self-regulated, you can see why. Why do we need this? So what is conscious discipline? once you have that school matrix in place in your building and you have your expectations set, in order for teachers to be able to effectively teach students how to have those social competencies, we have to give teachers the toolbox and skills they need to do that. So conscious discipline is based on 7 powers of self-control. These are 7 things that all of us as adults utilize every day and govern our behavior. And so you can go to the next one, Kim. From those 7 powers come 7 basic skills of discipline that we use to promote a peaceful state within the children and then teach them how to learn, cooperate, and help each other, how to self-regulate their behavior. So the next slide then, and I love the caveman, because the statement is really once we are conscious of those powers and skills that we have, we can then teach them to children so that children can start to solve their own problems and regulate their own behaviors and handle their upsets and situations that are in the world. Conscious discipline is not a program. It's not an extracurriculum. It's a mindset. It's a shift in how you talk and deal and work with children. I can tell you that the Oshkosh Area School District, Jacob Shapiro specifically, is what brought conscious discipline into my life, and it has been life-changing for me. I am passionate about it. I believe wholeheartedly about it. As anyone who knows me, I listen to Becky Bailey in the car. It's changed me as a person and how I deal with children, and it works. It works. Some of this is, I think.
Oh, and I can get your turn. Yeah, I'd be happy to take this on. You know, I think we make a lot of assumptions. Not only some of us are going through the culturally responsive practices, and Dr. Bob and I are going to the summit during spring break. We talk about the brain specifically and how different it is in not only culturally responsive but socially responsive and poverty and what that has done to the brain. And most recently, some of us have been following Eric Jensen's work and really looking at the shift and the changes that have occurred in Oshkosh and how we treat children of poverty different. And we say walk a day in their shoes or ride the bus with them. And then as they cross your threshold, treat them the way you feel they should be treated. And I think it's very eye-opening. Very many cultural expectations. There are kids who are not allowed to talk at school. So when they come to school, they spill out all the talking that they were not allowed to do at home. And specifically trauma that has happened in some of these kiddos' lives. We cannot teach unless the behavior is under control. Some of you know this and have seen this. So just really teaching the fluency and not judging where they come from or the tools or the skill set they have. They have never had to sit at a table to eat. Why should we expect them to sit in a desk all day? We may need to give them tools and change up how we do things. Really, the whole school-wide setting, you know, I've been in many manifestations where I say you control how you react. It's the student, it's the parent, it's the teacher, it's the principal. We have a choice. Darcy and Shannon, do you want to add anything to that? I just want to add with them at the table that Darcy did not join us until November. I stole her from Merrill Elementary from a regular ed classroom. She had also taught special ed in Ripon, and Shannon I stole back from the school district of Lomira because it was really important for us to have people with a special ed and a regular ed degree who have been and walked both paths. In addition, our CEIS funding required licensure in both areas, so when we were looking on how to fund the behavior positions, they met criteria and we kind of went after them and got them. So if you want to go to the next slide. You know, we talk a lot about the function of behavior and we can allow our behavior interventionists to speak, but when we see behaviors and when we look per classroom, we look what is the function of behavior, and if it's the kid whose eyes kicking or speaking out, it might be they wanted attention or they wanted to speak or maybe they were hungry or so the behavior interventionists have taken some data and they always go in and they look for the function and they choose a couple target behaviors in the global setting. Like in one classroom, if there's constant blurting and the teacher can't teach, well, how are we going to teach the kids to raise their hands? always, always behavior occurs in a context. So really looking at that and then not assuming why they're doing the behavior. Let's not assume. Let's really look at that kid and find out that particular function and break it down. Darcy and Shannon, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. I think just as Linda had mentioned, really looking at that function, identifying it, and finding a proactive strategy that's going to help reduce that behavior. And again, that relationship building. How can we help teachers create community in their classrooms, put in expectations that students are aware of and can handle and do.
And again, with what was mentioned previously, is just that replacement behavior when coaching teachers and even helping with the words to give the kids what to say, because a lot of the kids come and they have no idea with their background, with their family background, what to say to another child when they do something that hurts them. But providing them with that language and really connecting and replacing behaviors.
So these are some of the quotes. I think I forwarded some of the good work that the behavior interventionists have done, and they're not just limited to one school. The comments and the help, which has been really, really nice to get those positive from teachers. I know I had sent you early on before Shannon was with us. Darcy went in a classroom and totally rearranged the whole room. She said, these are the rules. This is what we're going to do this. This is where the supplies are going to be, where there was chaos. And so organizing that, if I could clone them and sprinkle them all over the district, I just think it's very telling that a couple of veteran teachers are so excited to have the tools and the supports. And I think I've shared several emails with you.
All right, so we had a group of principals, social workers, counselors, all coming together, behavior interventionists, to take a look at what we could do as a district. And we started this work this fall. We received 2 links to the different documents. One of the documents really shows the universal behaviors that we expect in our classrooms. And then this is behavior expectations, what we used to do and what we do now, because we thought that would be helpful as we move forward. Because there's a lot of things that have been done in the past, and it was, it was already okay, but we're really moving into a whole different type of mindset. And so these are some of them. And I think it's just important for teachers to know that what we did yesterday, or what we do today, doesn't make yesterday wrong, it makes tomorrow better. So, because we're moving forward, because things are just changing. So both of those are in your packet if you'd like to take a closer look.
Currently, we're in the process of developing a social emotional portal that teachers will have access to. On that portal, there'll be a list of resources, including social skill literacy components, charts, cool tools, which is part of PBIS, interventions, celebration activities, just a really quick tool that teachers can access at any time so they can get ideas for their classrooms, how to help them. So that will be rolling out to teachers, I think, very soon. So something we're really excited about.
And we didn't want it to be just the schools that were PBIS trained or just
We
the
want
schools.
everyone to have
It's
equal
access. Yeah, and there's a lot of good sharing going on, so we're hoping, and like you said, it's just being developed, but hopefully it can be easily managed, that people can go on and find good stuff easily.
So why do we do all of it? It's our ability to reach out and empathize with others, to accept and celebrate differences, to communicate feelings directly, to resolve conflicts in constructive ways, and to enjoy being contributing members of a community. So we really, it's all of those things that we aspire our students to be.
First question. When can you come to my methods class and give this again?
Yes, I would love to.
Sure. Super. Thank you.
What day?
Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1:20 to 2:50.
Yeah, John, send us the calendar.
Okay.
Other questions? Barb?
I have both some questions and some comments. First of all, I've had a chance to see both of these, well, when I say both, I'm speaking conscious discipline and PBIS implemented in the schools. And like Sue, although she spent far more time at Jacob Shapiro than I ever have, I have spent multiple days there. as a substitute principal, and I find that the relationship building and the empathy and the caring is evident throughout the building, not only toward students within classrooms, but between classrooms, regular ed, special ed, and so on. And I really see the benefit of this. I often see the world in terms of Venn diagrams, and I don't know why, but I do.
Really?
Yes, I do. What's the overlap? What's the commonality? And I see a lot of commonality in the approach to PBIS as well as conscious discipline. What I also have observed as a substitute principal is that it makes a big difference in a school if there's a common approach to classroom management, behavior management. I'm not sure I like the word management, but for lack of a better term, I'll use that. As compared to schools where they either don't have a uniform plan, or they don't have any plan, or it's classroom specific and everybody either chooses their own, or maybe somebody took the tribes program and somebody has some PBIS and somebody has love and logic. It's very confusing for the children. The language is not the same. But when you have the entire staff trained, including food service, paras, secretaries, it just makes a huge difference. So I would like to see us moving forward as a district providing opportunities for the schools to choose a common approach throughout the school and not have a tube sock mentality that one size fits all, because the culture and the climate of every building is different. But I would like to see a common plan throughout the buildings. To me, that makes so much sense. It also helps us communicate better with parents and involve them as authentic partners in the education of their children. So I commend the work you're doing, and I'm glad to see the training that's going on. I just have one question after that long explanation.
You're deserving of it.
Thank you. You're very tolerant. I know that every day in the life of anyone who works in the school system is different. No 2 days are alike. No 2 half days are probably alike. But could you just give us the big picture, 30,000 feet overview of what Margie, Darcy, Shannon, you do in the district?
I think that's a great question. Yeah.
Go ahead, girls.
Okay, let's start. Right about now, we are doing quite a few different things within the classrooms. We're doing a lot of the coaching of teachers, supporting staff, also like paras and even parents who volunteer, just helping them with that language and how do you work with kids. We're doing the modeling, teaching, and providing of replacement behaviors for students, which I mentioned earlier, a really important piece. Revising schedules, transforming transition times into something else, incorporating those brain breaks, movement breaks, getting the kids up and moving and engaged in activities.
Helping teachers rearrange classrooms to make transitions easier, quicker, more efficient, finding resources and providing organizational techniques, again, implementing breaks, brain breaks, transition times. We do FBAs, functional behavioral analysis, and we help develop behavior intervention plans for staff, or for the students. We help staff with that. We provide meetings, and we attend care teams, child studies, staff meetings to provide information on behavior support.
They are rolling out a couple of in-services, like quick snippet in-services, like what does each school need, and they're going in for some collab times and doing that. In addition, they are directed to do things. If we find out there's a high flyer or a student moves in and there's no basis or no data, they're going and collecting that data and reforming. They are sometimes instructed or asked to go to IEP meetings as a behavior or as an objective person there at the meeting. They're very busy. I think I sent you the statistics at the time that there was 221 children on the watch list or the high flyers. I think there's 240.
We're even higher.
276 as of last Friday.
270, and that's mainly K2. We really hadn't even had a chance yet to kind of delve into the 3-5.
And how many classrooms are you working with right now?
Right now, I can't give you the exact number on that one, but over the last few months, we've been in over 90 classrooms.
Oh my God. And they have awesome, they have deeper data that if you want to dig into that I have, because I asked for weekly reports. They give me weekly updates and tell me where they've been so that I can track where they've been, what they've accomplished, how long they've spent with certain teachers. And if I see a trend or something that's problematic, like with seclusion and restraint forms or suspensions, we will often do a walkthrough, or I'll go over and meet with certain staff and the principal and say, what have we put in place? Do we need more help to implement? What can we do to change this?
As an administrator, it's fantastic to be able, when there is a student in your building that you're struggling with, to be able to reach out to either one of them and ask them to come in. There's something about them coming into the classroom and observing that is a little less threatening than it being me. And somehow their advice that they offer is taken sometimes better than it does come from us. You know how that works, but it's really nice for them to be able to come in and offer some of those objective comments and suggestions, and then they share those with me, and we work as a team together. But it's fantastic service.
I have two other questions. Shannon, Darcy, Margie, are all three of you full-time in your respective roles related to this program?
I am a behavior interventionist, but not Margie. So do you want to speak to that?
I'm grandma now, too, Barb, I hear you say.
But she wanted to know about your typical day, too.
I know. Are you all ready? Okay. So I'm working at .4 for the district, and it started 2 years ago. This is only our second year, and we initially had the 8 schools trained. And each school has an internal coach who is a teacher, counselor, a staff member that helps, and now we actually have 2 in each building to help share that load, because they're not compensated for that. It's just something they take on because they have a passion for that. And so they're called internal coaches to guide their team and their school. And then I'm acting as an external coach we now have 9, I was acting with 9 schools. With the 2 middle schools that were just trained, that's 11 schools. So I'm acting as the go-between to help transfer information from the state to the schools, work closely with the principal and the internal coaches. I attend their monthly meetings. I'm also the local assessment coordinator for Oshkosh, so that when there are 3 to 4 surveys that need to be taken every year, and so I'm coordinating that. Let them know they need to do that. They let me know when, and I have to just electronically open the window. So this is all done. That's all reported to the state. So that basically, Barb, is what I'm doing on a weekly basis.
Great.
We're transitioning next year. Now, like I said, we'll have 11 schools. We're bringing our school psychologists, now that we're fully funded and they're on board. They will be acting as the external coaches for their sites. And my position will still be something with the district. It's a little bit undefined. I'm very excited. There's a lot of room we can go. I really think the training ideas we want to do more. I've met with Shannon and Darcy a lot, where that classroom management, again, it's so easy to say teachers do all of this, but provide them the training, help them have this. So classroom management is a very big thing that we know if those things are in place, it's going to go better for everyone. As you mentioned, we would like to have trainings, boosters systematically for bus drivers, our paras, our lunchrooms. We do family nights for parents, just as we've done with academic things. So there's just a lot of room to grow. And kudos to these people here at Central Office that have continued to work with us for these last 2 years. We started out with 8 schools that were really ambitious and excited and everything, without always having all of this here first. So I feel like we've come a long way in 2 years, and excited to keep moving forward.
I have one last comment. As we look to the high schools, there are 2 issues that come to mind that typically people in school systems want to reduce. One is the number of detentions, and one is the number of truancies. What impact might you see in terms of PBIS or some other approach to work on those 2 issues specifically? Detentions have been around for longer than I've been in education, or Stan Mack, and I don't think those are very effective. But they're still out there. What can we do to reduce detentions, and what can we do to decrease truancy or increase daily attendance?
And suspensions. We have the data from PBIS that leads to the suspensions, which comes over to me when they get to their 10th, and then it's a manifestation if they're special ed. But we can get you that data, what it has done to the middle schools in reducing, because they have office referrals, and we can delve into that certainly deeper and show you what has happened. And I can tell you at the high schools, in terms of suspensions, that relationship piece is still very, very crucial to the kiddos who are having the mental health issues and the behaviors and chronic truancy and attendance and late and tardiness. Giving a kid another detention or kicking them out one more day, we have the research to show that that is not effective. We want them there having access to the curriculum.
You can't teach them if they're not there. So we need
You're
them there.
right. Genius.
Thank you.
But if you establish a very strong relationship-based climate in your school, kids want to come.
Sure.
I can't tell you how many of the kids at my school, when it's Friday and you say Happy Friday to them,
they cry.
Are sad that it's Friday because they want to be at school. It's a safe place for them. So just doing that.
And that's the opportunity we have. Only 7 hours we have to create that positive climate and rapport and build those relationships. We have to take them the way they come to us when they cross our threshold. They are all very, very different.
So I guess the board has heard a fair amount about behavioral issues in grade schools recently, and certainly we've talked with you about the pendulum swinging too far and needing to go back. And I guess if we've been at this now this is the second year,
For the only PBIS in certain schools, the behavior interventionists have only been with us for not even a full semester. When we look at the time, I only got each of them. I got Shannon in January and Darcy in November.
Many of the things that we've been working on, a lot of things this year, including the universal instruction, the expectations, and that's being rolled out. Some principals have rolled it out already. Some of them have them coming up in the next meeting or two. So it all takes time.
I just want to add, I have a mom who works at Jacob Shapiro, so when I go in and I've seen the conscious discipline, and then next thing I know, it's happening at home, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, is that helpful or hurtful? And I'm like, I really think the word positive is what kids need to hear. Going through like just teenage life stuff, I've had to learn how to adapt to a positive lifestyle because there's so many things that bring you down. The conscious discipline, when I first saw it, I was like, are you kidding me? And then when I heard it at home, I was like, really? But now that I like understand it more, and I really think it's more of a mindset, I think that it's going to get across to students more, and that's going to make them want to come to school. For like the high school detentions and truancy, they're not going to want to come back to class, and kicking them out over and over doesn't want you to feel, you don't feel welcomed to come back, actually, is more what it is. So I think that taking on the social emotion portal for the teachers, I really hope that they put that into use, because I think it will bring a lot of kids back to class and want to learn, especially in the high school level. And I agree with saying no to negative feedback. I think acknowledging the positive is really something that we need to look into and keep like going at, because it's basically shaped my life, not just because of my mom. She's a big part of it, but just working with positive teachers that I do have at school makes me want to be at school. I don't mind coming to school, kind of thing. So and knowing that you guys actually take notice that everybody has a bad day and everybody's entitled to that is really, something that we need to get across, that they might not just be acting out. They just might be having a bad day, which we all have, even as adults. So I think that this is just a great thing, and I really hope to see it, grow, even though when I'm not here next year, I'd love to hear from my mom. Probably not get conscious discipline at home, but just hear what she says, how it is, and everything like that. So I really would like to applaud you guys on that.
Thank you.
John, you had something you wanted to say?
A couple things. Thank you. Bless you, all 6 of you, and anybody who's helping you. And what can we do to help you? I really support the idea of having a uniform school-wide plan. So when kids go from place to place, they know what the deal is wherever they are. And the presentation you made on this stuff, it sounds good. It's good stuff, and there's other models out there that are probably good as well. As I think Dr. Herzog, Barb, you were saying, why this one? There are other ones. It doesn't really matter to me as long as it's a good one. But how can we help you establish a school-wide program of some sort in every school? So what can we do?
Well, I think the principals are moving that way and figuring out what path they're going to be taking. And some of them, I think, are looking at PBIS. In fact, we have several schools who are interested, who are going to be going to an informational meeting with Gary Mulry, who is the trainer for PBIS. And then we have other schools who are going, how can we get all of our staff trained in conscious discipline? So I think I'm hearing both, but everybody has a path that they want to go down. But eventually, I think they converge.
David?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, over to Emma's point as well. Like, not only seen from a teacher's perspective, when it's put in place to like the students. So in one case, I had to give a speech to the whole school, which was fun. I was reciting like one of the "It's Fridays" by Rebecca Black. It's a pop video that everybody laughs about. So when I did that and kind of got that positive thing, because it was a sort of serious topic, and when I instituted like the positiveness and then kind of dug deep from that, that can be seen even from the students' relation to each other, like the vernacular that we're choosing to communicate with each other, as well as I'm in bionics, and even to the kids, like when you take an informal stance, make it positive, and then really kind of get your point across, I can see how this program can be very effective. But I was just wondering also for kids that may need to be taken out of class, like there are some instances. I was just wondering how you guys felt about those specific instances where there's no other way about going about it.
And that still occurs. It's just
sadly,
it's not the first thing. There's modeling, there's reteaching, there's many things put in place instead of just exclusionary consequences.
And David, in terms of if a child is removed, or if we use any form of seclusion or restraint, so we remove them, we document that, and we usually then do an FBA, and then look at the function of that behavior. The Board of Education is very distressed over lost instructional minutes, particularly at the elementary right now. So we're educating everyone about best practice in terms of Act 125, which is the law that governs seclusion and restraint, and trying to get common language with all the principals, with all the deans, with teachers as well, trying to get that common language and understanding, but still looking at that function. Maybe that kid didn't want to take the math test, or maybe it's just something else going on in their life, or there was a fight with a peer at a high school, or they broke up. Just really looking at that function and back to that relationship-based, and how can we change behavior? What are we going to teach? What's the replacement behavior? And how can we connect with that student?
I think that's adding to that too. Oh, sorry.
Just a good point. It's very uncomfortable to be in that kind of situation, as sitting there as another student watching another student, go at it with the teacher, or you need to leave. It's really uncomfortable. I just I cringe up. I don't know what to do, and it's not even about me, but I just hate it. And I think that's when that positive thing really needs to be put in, is instead of arguing back and forth, because every teenager's right apparently. Just instead of informing that kind of stuff, it's just got to be well, what can we do to stop it? I don't want to kick you out of class, and I think it will benefit all the students around us, not just the one-to-one that's having the issue as well.
And Emma, often when I'm in a manifestation, or I'm getting in a pre-expulsion or some kind of hearing, I always say it takes two to argue.
Right.
And it's the bigger person who walks away. And even you probably know this with your mom as a teenager. It takes two to continue joining, and sometimes you have to almost bite your lip, not to say what, because you know you're right as the teenager, or as the teacher, or the parent, or the grandma, and it's really hard to walk away, because what the research tells us about the brain is no good can come from arguing when you're in that,
we were just discussing that in the back room, and way back with some of the counseling terms, it would be, if you're in a power struggle, drop your end of the rope.
Kelly?
We hear a lot of acronyms.
Yes.
And
Sorry.
it's okay for me because I'm used to them, but often my friends aren't. And so we hear PBIS, we hear conscious discipline, we hear Levin logic. We also hear RTI. Could you just give a brief, quick, how that fits in?
Sure.
Just so we're on common ground.
Yes. So our response to intervention is kind of the big umbrella. And so when we look at response to intervention, we look at our universal instruction, what do most of our kids can access, and that can be behavioral or academic. And then, you know, you sometimes will see it in a pyramid, sometimes you'll see it in a circular form, but no matter what it is, it's what are the layers after that universal instruction, what are we doing for the students who need additional help? And it could be in academics or it could be in behavior. And, you know, the more they need help, the more interventions that we have as we go along. So that's the response to intervention. And then the way you can do it is through PBIS would be an example of doing that, but the conscious discipline is really a layer with that because, again, PBIS is the framework, but conscious discipline is the mindset, and you really need both. Because, you know, you could have a classroom matrix, but if you don't have the mindset to use the positive language and to help a child, or if you are in a power struggle, that matrix isn't going to help you at that time. So we really believe it's the two together that really help.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
And I would just like to comment on the most important of getting this message across the district. As we have no acoustics in this building, I get lots of lessons in my office because of what the training is going on here, and the most enthusiastic when I know, secondary teachers are far louder than elementary teachers, and I just know when secondary teachers are here. But when I hear joyful voices coming out of secondary teachers who are in this room being trained and being responsive to that, it is just an exciting time. I have to stop by and just watch that. It is so exciting to see secondary teachers enthusiastic about training, and that's to the credit of these folks with being directly involved with that training, because that makes a difference each and every day. And I have learned more lessons on more different things by the acoustics just floating through the upper ceilings here. And all one has to do is be quiet, work at your computer, and absorb what's all going on, and it's fantastic. And thank you for bringing enthusiasm to our teachers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Expanding the Riverside program, Geigley and Leader.
As they get arranged here, one of the things I've asked Dr. Geigley to consider and Lisa as we approach this is, again, we are really very pleased to have this partnership with Fox Valley in delivering the service. But the real question is, similar to what we just were hearing, how do we keep students successful in school so that the Riverside program doesn't become the resource? Because to me, our delivering of quality instruction, quality behavioral and motivation is driven by how successful we are at keeping students from needing those services. And that's really the long-term question. Yes, we have a waiting list. We need to get to serve those. But the issue to me is far more important is how do we prevent needing the service for all the children that are ending up in the service. So that's part of the message that I asked Dr. Geigley and Lisa to also convey, because we are blessed with having the service available, and the quality and the programming that is going on is outstanding, but we shouldn't have a waiting list, because we should be able to have interventions that prevent the need for a waiting list. And that's really the heart and soul of the issue.
Well, good evening. I was waiting for my real presenters here. Even though I wrote the report primarily along with Lisa, I have Colette Bassi, who is our partner overseeing the program at the Fox Valley Technical College, and Susan McDermott, one of the instructors, who will make comments along the way. We'll try to present the data and then interweave some of the thoughts that we might have about how we might be successful at needing fewer spots in this program, as Mr. Mack alluded to. So I'm going to let Lisa lead off, and I'll interject as we go through. Lisa being the alternative ed coordinator who works with all these alternative programs.
Okay, to begin with, I just want to state that it's been a privilege to be part of this program. We have a very unique partnership with Fox Light Tech, and I think our community supports that, and I thank you for your support of that as well too. Because of that support, we've been able to do incredible things with our students. To help you understand the Riverside program, I think it's important to look at how it evolved. So getting back to the Quest program. The Quest program began in the 1990s and was housed at Fox Light Tech through 2005. That program served Oshkosh area district students as well too. However, with that program, students had to withdraw from high school before they were allowed to enter the Quest program. A wonderful program, and the tech helped us in supporting our students in getting an HSED or GED. However, it was that type of credential. So with that being said, there were over 100 students at one time in that program. Yes. And again, that started kind of our partnership with the tech. With that being said, they also wanted to look at how can we give a traditional high school diploma to students. So therefore, Oshkosh East High School Charter School was founded, and that ran between 2005 and 2010. That location also off-site was on Washington Avenue. And this program relied on a traditional credit-based scale, so therefore our students were earning that 22 credits that's required of our district. We were also using our district staff too, and we were fortunate to have Dr. Herzog's leadership for a short time at that program as well. Oshkosh East High School did serve other programs within that building besides the traditional 22 credit program. We had our Guido 2 program, New Start, which is now at North High School. So that was there as well too. Due to budget issues, when Oshkosh East High School closed, we looked at where can we go with our alt-ed programming. So due to that partnership, we went back to Fox Light Tech, and under the guidance of Patty Vickman, that program was founded, and along with Colette and Carol May from the Appleton campus as well too. We really wanted to make sure that our curriculum was meeting the needs of our students, as well as we could soundly say that we believe there was rigor and our students should earn a traditional high school diploma. We also inquired from our military forces as far as if they would look at that diploma any differently because it was coming from an alt-ed site. And with their input as well too, we then started the Riverside program. So this program again was implemented 2010 to 2000, or now obviously 2014, and students in this program are basically working at a self-pace with that type of model, as well as we have a very strong career and exploration emphasis. So we're looking at not just giving them that high school diploma, but the post-secondary piece after that, because our data does show us that our students are going to remain in our community. So we want to be able to service them, not just with that high school credential, but also looking past that. So all three of these programs were serving a similar population, and they were also all off-site, because our data does tell us that alternative ed students do prefer to be off-campus due to the drama and that sort of thing, and other factors that weigh into a traditional high school setting. So this is our mission statement of our Riverside program, and I'll let Susan take this.
Yes, well, first of all, thank you for having us. We're thrilled to be here, thrilled. And I agree with you, Dr. Mack. As much as I love my vocation, I think that if we can reduce the numbers of students that need this, we're, as a community, doing a service. So, and I'd also, this is going to be piggybacking on what you said, Dr. Herzog, about the Venn diagram that you see the world in. I agree. And this is where our mission statement comes in, because we have the Venn diagram that this is where we meet in the middle. We have the Oshkosh Area School District mission statement. We have the Fox Valley Technical College mission statement. This is where we meet. This is how we create the success for our students. And we do believe that we are a partnership that is devoted to our students. We do want to create that conducive environment, and off-site is a good place for those things to happen. We do believe that it will foster among our participants, not only our students, but their parents, their guardians, the Oshkosh Area School District the people, personnel, our Fox Valley Technical College personnel, and our community at large, because we bring as many people as we can to help serve the situation for our students. We do see the emotional growth, we do see the social growth, and we do see the academic growth. And that, all of it comes together to create a persistence that students can continue and better enable their successful transition into our communities, whether it's in continuing higher education, wherever they choose to participate in that, or if they choose to go the vocational route within our community, and our economic base as a community is strengthened by that. So this is our connection of where the Venn diagram comes together for our community. This is our mission statement, and we do believe in it, and I believe that we are purposefully following it as well.
Here's some data that illustrates our students served. As you can see, the 4 years broken out here. Total number of students, 75, 69, 63, and 62. Without even trying, we're pretty close as far as males and females. Again, same thing with the high school enrollment. Again, without even trying, as far as our numbers between North and West are pretty much equal. So what we do as far as with our student waiting list, if there are students that are waiting to get into the program, they are put on a waiting list regardless of North or West High School. When a spot occurs, we look at who's at the top of the list. In other words, what school has that spot. And then it's the home school's decision as far as what student they're going to ask to be enrolled in the program. And then there's a process we follow through with that. So again, here just kind of to justify that our schools are equal as far as and the representation that we have. Number of special ed students. This has changed a little bit over the years, however, not on purpose. We do involve our case managers within the enrollments as well too, as well as our teachers, our faculty tech teachers are attending the IEPs and a part of all that communication as well too. The bottom row illustrates the number of students receiving free reduced lunch. Again, I want to point out, as always, this is a self-reported statistic, so this is what I'm receiving from students. Due to this number, we do assist students with the FAFSA, or Federal Financial Aid Form. It actually is a requirement of our program to help ensure that they are going to look at post-secondary options and college and career ready. We require that they do the FAFSA with us, and we bring in support from a financial organization to do that. We also, again, due to this number, we want to support as much as we can. So we are, with FaxLite Tech support, we are also providing students a free application to FaxLite Tech, and we are paying for their AccuPlacer. I should say we, that is a FaxLite Tech contribution. We also realize that our students, because they're not in their home schools, they're not receiving the free breakfast and lunch that they may be eligible for. So therefore, we are trying to provide as much as we can and have done things with grants for granola bars and that sort of thing as well too. Family data here. As you can see, our representation. The biggest number that seems to fluctuate for us is the teen parents. And due to other teen parenting programs that are no longer existing in our district, we are receiving more and more teen parents each year. So right now we have 30 as far as over our 4 years.
30 over 4 years.
30 over 4 years. Graduation and attendance. As you can see here, our data for that. The students that we are receiving at the Riverside program, they're coming to us for many reasons. Sometimes it's due to physical health reasons, maybe mental health, anxiety that's keeping them from following a traditional 7-hour day schedule. It could also be related to behavioral issues as well as academic issues. And some just, we're trying to fit, again, that student into, as Dr. Herzog always taught me, is trying to put that, that square into a round circle. It doesn't work. And that's a phrase we use constantly at East High School as well too. So this program, as you can see by our attendance rate, we're often getting those students who are truant and maybe haven't, yet been the benefit of the conscious discipline models that are out there. So again, to have the type of attendance rates we have, I think is pretty remarkable. Our students have a very strict attendance requirement. They're only allowed 4 unexcused absences before they are dismissed from the program.
One of the students made a comment when there were surveys done about attendance. Was a student who missed about half the days at their regular high school, made a statement that my attendance is 100%. I never miss a day here because I have people I can trust and I relate to. And I think that you know, that's a telling statement, and probably many of the students might say that. I just wanted to throw that in.
Thank you, thank you. You will see I did put an asterisk by the data from 2010, our graduation rate, the 57%. Obviously not as high as we would like. However, my next slide, I'll explain that here. There are many factors that contributed to that data. Please keep in mind that with the closing of Oshkosh East High School, there was a break in relationships. And as Dr. Herzog knows from being there too, our students were very upset by the closure of that building. The trust, the connections that they had with the staff there, and even with the building itself. So therefore, we were trying to bring them over and transition them into a different program that had different graduation criteria. They were going from a credit-based program to now a competency-based program with different people in front of them instructing. So we worked really hard with that group, considering that structural change, and we spent a lot of time rebuilding the trust. And we feel very comfortable with the fact that some of the students that we did not actually lead to graduation that year, we did bring back through the Adult Basic Education program, and they received their GED or HSED. So because of that trust with us, we were able to lead them to a different pathway once they were ready for that. This year, we celebrated our 100th graduate. And as you can see there, she's holding a book. It's actually, the letters are, I guess, backwards here, but a career readiness book. And I'll let Susan talk a little bit about that adventure that we have.
I just wanted to, when you said credit-based versus competency-based is a test at the end, like a GED, or?
Yes, yes. Okay. The program that we do use the GED test to show competencies in your core areas. So your reading, your science, your math, and your social studies. So the state allows us, based on a specific score, that they get that specific score, we can say full-heartedly that they know what a high school senior should know in that core area. Now, along with that, due to our district graduation requirements, we also require the personal financial literacy program or class, so we have that, as well as a career exploration class, which is a 2-credit college class that they receive college credit for. And that's also taught by a college career counselor, a tech career counselor. And then we also have a leadership component as well too, because we feel very strongly that that should be part of the program. We also have the health requirement in there, as well as employability skills to help with that resume and career building that way. Yes?
On the 57% graduation rate for that first year, what was the graduation rate for East High School the previous year?
I believe it was below that.
I believe it was below that.
I want to say it was 42% or something like that is a number that sticks in my mind. Don't quote me on that. We can look it up and provide it to you. But I think you're absolutely right. It was lower.
Right, and I guess that's my point on this. This is one of the reasons that we helped create this program, was that in the military I was not accepting the diplomas from East High and stuff. So even though it's at 57% in that first year, I would still suggest that that is a positive step forward.
Thank you. And I do believe we did bring over every East student at that time except for 2.
That's right. I think that's right.
And I'm smiling at that first group that came over because they were so passionate about their school. So it was to see them roll over and come to us and accept a much different environment was very fun because it's a blander environment than where they were. And so right away there was a stark difference. So bland was good, I hope. Thank you. But to speak to our 100th graduate, Kayla, I'm so proud of her. She is one of our parents, and she is holding a book. We believe strongly in partnerships. I'd already mentioned that, but one of our underlying hidden curriculum pieces is that you need to make connections, and connections are where doors open for you. We believe strongly in the relationships that we build with our students, but we try to help them then build relationships with others. The book that she is holding is by Chad Foster, and he has kind of taken us under his wing for some wonderful reason, and we are not saying no. He actually is one of the key components to our financial literacy. Not the only one, but one of the key components to our financial literacy. And he's actually going to be coming to visit our students in September, which is quite a coup because he is a nationally known speaker, and he does this kind of stuff throughout the nation, obviously, internationally known. And he sent us a bunch of books that are all about career readiness, about nurturing those connections that you make. So he's one of our connections. We do have a mentoring program with the University of Wisconsin here in Oshkosh with the football team. Coach Cerrone has taken us under his wing too, and we've created some successful mentorships with some of the senior football players. So that has been extremely helpful to us as well. Throughout the community, we have people coming in, and we really try to refer to this as career and college readiness rather than junior achievement, because there's something about, as well as, excuse me, as helpful as junior achievement has been, pardon me, the students know that name. And so when we can kind of get it back to what they're going to be dealing with, which is career and college readiness, they are more ready to accept the message that our people bring for them. My particular person is Renee Pollock, and she had a stepson that went through our program in that very first year. And so as a result of the partnership that she created through her family, she's now giving back as a mentor to our kids. And so there's just you never know when when you are going to be helping each other out. So that is one of those things. And there are numerous connections that we have made and tried to foster throughout. And we're very proud of that. But the seed of that is, in a climate where maybe relationships haven't been as easy to develop, when you create the idea that it is the skill set that you are nurturing, and that skill set carries you further than what you ever think is possible, they're more willing to go into that. And the only reason and the only way they're going to do that is if they see us fostering those relationships as well. Because I pull on my relationships with others. That's how we brought in Chad Foster. We have another, we're sprinkled with other people too, who help strengthen me. And when we're strengthened, we automatically pass that on to our students, and they see that, and it resonates within them.
I just want to say about I'm proud of the 100th graduate as well.
Absolutely.
But I also want to say that these numbers of graduates represent not only money, state aid that comes to the district, because if they ended up on the dropout side as opposed to the graduate side, we would have lost those dollars of state aid, because they're enrolled in our district, and so they also continue to bring revenue. The other thing I want to say is that they also contribute to the steady increase in the graduation rate for our district, which we all should be proud of. And although the data is still embargoed, I have reason to believe it's probably going to creep up again when it comes out for the last year. As I said, it's still embargoed, so we can't talk about it directly, but I have reason to believe it's going up. My preliminary information says so. And there's no doubt that without some of these graduates, it would not have gone that direction. We'd love to be doing it in our regular setting, but for a number of reasons, it just isn't successful at this point, at least. So.
Can I interject one?
Yeah.
Because Kayla Mason was our 100th graduate,
yeah.
And it's worth mentioning that she's working. She is working at a daycare center, and she has a daughter. Our very first graduate was Mariah Rabidou, and she is full-time working at McDonald's, and she has 2 children. She was 4 years ago, but she's still out there in our community helping us, and so that, I think, is worthy of mentioning, that they're employed and that they both have mentioned wanting to come back to school at some point.
Mm-hmm.
On our enrollment data, we do have 42 seats in the program, and that is broken down into 3 classrooms of 14 seats per classroom. Current number on our waiting list is 38. We average 1 application per week, and that does go up a little bit at your semester or quarter time as well too. The average waiting list length is 4 to 6 months. And I want to point out that that would be 4 to 6 school calendar months as well too. I receive roughly a few phone calls a week, probably 3 to 5 phone calls a week from parents inquiring about the program. Within the past 48 hours, I have received 3 phone calls from family members outside of the district. So people inquiring from outside of Oshkosh regarding the program as well too. So that's a positive as well too. Number of withdrawn students, over our 4 years, we have lost 40 students. And majority of these have been returned to their home school due to attendance, the attendance requirement and not meeting that requirement. But as you can see, 30 did enroll back in their high school, and 5 moved. We had 1 expelled, 1 that was incarcerated, 3 chose the route of going into the full-time working world versus finishing up their credentials, and then 10 earned GEDs. And of those 10, I do believe 6 or 7 of those were from our first year with the Oshkosh students too. And then 7 others have left us for family-related reasons.
I'm sorry.
No.
I just had a quick question about the 13 that are returned. Do you have any sense on how they did when they returned?
I could definitely get that information.
I'm just curious. Like, did they end up graduating or did they not? Or
I do know a few of them that have graduated and a few of them that have not. But I can get that data for you.
I just wondered.
Now, Mr. Reedhoff, you were mentioning about our GED scores, that our GED tests. We have had some changes this year in our GED tests, and I'll let Colette handle that loaded question.
The previous GED tests were rolled out in 2002, and they were 5 core tests in reading, writing, social studies, science, and math. And they had an average score of 450. So a student could get a 450 on all the tests and pass, or a 410 on one and a 490 on another, and average it all out. And it really was just a multiple choice-ish type of test. We have been told in the adult basic education world that the GED tests were going to be revised in 2010, 2011. Finally, 2 years ago, they said, okay, this is it. We're going to do it. It's going to go live on January 2014. But the biggest significant change is that it became a partnership between Pearson VUE and GED Testing Service, which was a significant change in terms of how the tests were going to be administered. They are now computer-based instead of paper pencil. They are down to 4 tests. Reading and writing are combined into a reading language arts test. Minimum score is a 150. There is no average anymore. You have to pass with a 150. If you get better, great, but you have to have the bottom 150. And the new tests are aligned with Common Core, and they are the whole premise of the tests changing, number one, because in 2002, that was a long time ago, is that there is a serious intent to make sure that anybody who takes a GED test and finishes the battery is career and college ready as well. So everything that has been modified over the last 2 years, and all of the teachers scrambling around trying to make sure that the students are ready to go, has been a significant change everywhere. Part of what we had to do this year with the students, it was a very interesting last year. The students that started with us last year in the Riverside program, they were age eligible to start testing, which is at age 17. We had to have finished up by December. So there was a significant amount of studying and wringing of hands and making sure that the students were comfortable taking those last tests. And they got all of the tests completed by December 2013. January of 2014, the new GED tests rolled out nationwide, but Fox Valley Tech didn't. We were held out of the testing arena until recently.
March?
And that we were not unique in terms of having a delay in the rollout of the GED tests. The technical college system, in some cases, they were Pearson VUE approved, but the Pearson VUE platform didn't roll out as nicely as they thought it was going to. And we had wringing of hands all over our district especially. So we started doing the Pearson VUE testing 3 weeks ago, I believe, college-wide at Appleton. And we are currently working on getting Oshkosh approved and ready to go in June. But the kudos to the teachers who prepared all of the students to finish up the last battery of tests by the end of December, and the chief examiner and her sidekick up in Appleton who put in an extraordinarily amount additional hours trying to get every student in the district, not only the alternative high school, but the 1,700 students who started the 2002 series of tests and hopefully came back to finish them before they changed. Because if they started and didn't finish, they'd have to start over.
I think it's important to point out the difference between these two tests as well. In the old testing battery, the maximum score you could get was an 800. And as you can see, you just had to average 450. If I understand right now, the top score you can get is 200, and you must get a minimum of 150. So in the school accountability world, the standard and the requirement has been up, like it has with our other tests in the testing arena and accountability area. So I think it's important to note that it says they're aligned with Common Core, and I think the competencies that you cover are well accounted for there.
You may have received in your board packet our GED scores from the previous 3 years.
Yeah.
And just kind of point that out, how that relates to the national scores. In the area of actually reading, our average score was 570, which put us in the top 20% nationally that'd be the class rank nationally of graduating seniors. And our social studies score was 530, which is the top 30%. Science was the top 25% with a 550, and math and writing were both in the top 50% as well too. So that's the national U.S. class ranking of graduating seniors. So as you can see, we do have the rigor. And I want to add too, due to the changes in the GED tests, it has been a service delivery issue, which Fox Lake Tech has responded to for us. Normally our students are testing at the Riverside campus in Oshkosh, but due to now the testing issues, Fox Lake Tech is providing us transportation and actually paying to transport our students from Oshkosh to Appleton for testing. So we're very, very thankful for that as well too. Also, I want to add that because of the population that we are serving, and we are very passionate about the students that we serve and love working with them each day, they thrive on structure. So this has been a challenge as far as for them, having to adjust to a whole different testing schedule, criteria, so on and so forth. So we are very thankful for their patience as well too throughout this process.
I'm going to interject, I just have to. One of the things that they've had to do too, some of our students is, and we've all been there, where you have to call the whatever it is, the insurance company or the, whether it's your car or your health. We've had some students that have had to call Pearson VUE and actually spend 45 minutes on the phone trying to troubleshoot an error that took place, not because the students did something wrong, but because of the computer glitch or these new fledgling things that we're finding out as we move through this process. And each student who has spent that time with the customer service rep on Pearson VUE has walked away just really, really thriving in their ability to respond to an adult and to work the situation, whatever it was, out on the phone without losing his or her temper. And that's huge. That is really welcome.
Yeah.
Huge.
There are a few adults that would have lost their temper
Absolutely.
with what's going on.
Absolutely.
Of the 3 programs, do you feel that this is an advancement? I mean, from Quest, you had said that obviously there were issues, and as Mr. Dito indicated, there were issues with the military from East High School. Do you feel that we've advanced, or do you feel that one of the former programs was actually a better program?
We were serving similar populations in all three
Right.
programs. However, I do think they were all wonderful in their own way. I do like personally what direction we are moving as a district because of this partnership. Again, the community members that we have supporting our partnership and our program is just incredible. And I think that's moving us in the right direction. We're enabling students to make those connections, and we're really emphasizing that post-secondary college and career readiness piece. And due to that partnership within Fox Lake Tech, we're allowing students opportunities that they never would have had. And they're sharing the hallways with not their teens, peers anymore.
Mhm.
They're sharing the hallways with adults.
Right.
And I think, that's important to point out as far as that learning environment for them has changed. It is an adult learning environment, and kudos to them. They have stepped up to the plate, and we've seen some remarkable things occur. So I think we are moving in the right direction. We have some other wonderful programs going on too, but this is, just about the Riverside program.
And I'd actually like to add a little bit to that as well, because I was in charge of the Quest program too. It was a great program. It was, we had wonderful teachers, and that's basically what we created the Riverside program as a base and moved forward with that. But I agree with Lisa, is that the partnership and the intent to have these students move on into the next phase of their life, whatever that might be, with the hope that it is a post-secondary education. We have our own areas of the college that are working with us. We've had the truck driving program come down and pick up students and take them on a ride along. We've had our wonderful chef Jeff come down, and he is really loving to come and talk with these students. We had the department chair from the aviation program come. He actually took a student one-on-one, I think, and had a discussion. So we have our own areas of our college that are committing their time and excitement to these students as well, because they realize this is something that really could excite them.
Right.
One of the things that I'm especially impressed about is that at East High School, those kids were basically isolated. There were some initiatives, some collaborations with the public library, with the YMCA, and those were very good. But the kinds of things you've described, I think, are excellent. And we heard in an earlier presentation tonight about some of the impacts of the culture of poverty. And when you see the free and reduced lunch rates, it's very difficult for parents who don't have the experience of post-secondary education knowing how to advise their children, how to do that, and how that sometimes sets children apart from families and children. If you look at the work of Dr. Ruby Payne on the impact of poverty, that's all right there. So to me, the location and the collaboration with Fox Valley Tech is doing these students a better service and providing more than we can provide at East. And I just want to say I am so grateful, as Sue Martin said, that conscious discipline was life-changing for her. The experience that I had at East High was life-changing for me. Those kids taught me as much or more than I learned from them. And I am very passionate about making sure that we do right by all our kids. And while some of these kids provide challenges and maybe a little prickly around the edges because of what life has dealt them, we need every one of them. And we need them to have more than minimum wage jobs when they graduate from high school. So whatever we can do to help them become more career, more college, more community ready, and become stronger community members, since many of them will stay here, I really am in favor of that.
Thank you. We're going to sign you up for our next month's speaker.
Okay.
Which is a good segue into our number of community partners. And I know we have been very, very fortunate. We've had speakers from a variety of businesses. Steve Eliasson has been very, very supportive of our program, and with his sailing program presented, as well as helped us find other connections for our speakers as well too, assisted with field trips. We have service organizations involved that are supporting our students' mental health needs as well too. So we pulled them in, especially with our number of teen parents. We've tried to find support resources for them and done some things with parenting courses and so on and so forth. Our volunteer groups are helping, and as Susan mentioned earlier, to our mentoring program with UW Oshkosh. So again, over 50 community partners in this program, and it keeps on building. And that's just within the Oshkosh area. Again, Appleton has been very gracious, and the surrounding areas as well too. We have been using a U.S. Venture Basic Needs Grant. This was a non-renewing grant that will expire this year, and that grant of $68,000 has helped us support students as far as in their career exploration, as well as looking at what other programs we can provide for them while they're enrolled with us too. So we're very fortunate to have had that. And then looking at how we're going to continue with that funding, we recently put together a proposal through the AT&T Aspire grant for $126,000. And what this grant allows us to do is expand or enhance on that programming for direct entry into career and college pathways. So we realized that we were giving students the opportunities, but we weren't doing enough of that connecting to the next stage. And we wanted them to say, here, here's a nursing opportunity, grab it. Unfortunately, they weren't ready for that, even though we wanted them to be. So now we're looking at how we can assist with that, with additional resources and a curriculum change in our program as well, too.
And we did give you the mid-year report from the U.S. Venture in the board packet. You should have had that as an attachment. So that shows some details on that.
When we designed this program, we really, as I mentioned earlier, we did base it on the Quest program, and that was a very common program around the state because it's a 11815 contract that the technical colleges do provide through state statute. The twist on this was that in addition to using the GED tests as a measure of competency and the additional components, the school districts agreed to do the high school diploma. And we do believe that that is probably one of the first few in the state that actually do that through a contract with their local technical college. And we have had other programs around our district that, when they found out what we were doing, were calling me and saying, okay, how do we set up something similar? So we do have, Chilton is running a very similar program, and Appleton this year also instituted the basic program with the additional components, and they will issue the high school diploma through the Appleton School District. I go to many meetings and we talk about the services that the school districts and the technical colleges are providing together, and they are very interested in what we're doing, and so I do get a lot of questions, and I'm sure that the Youth at Risk Committee that Lisa and I attend, that comes out as a topic of conversation as well, because there are many at-risk programs in the entire district that Fox Valley Tech serves, and then a little bit beyond in terms of the Youth at Risk Committee, but they're all interested in the differences and how can we offer better programming all the way across. So. Sure.
And obviously we do have a slight advantage because we do have Fox Valley Tech, in our backyard. So it is helping us compared to other districts that do not have that. Also, thanks to all of you, we have that strong partnership with the tech that was started many, many years ago. So, and not just for our all-tech programs, but other programs as well, too. The underlying question here, why is Riverside successful? We have phenomenal instructors that have remarkable ways of relating to our at-risk population. And I could provide more data on that and survey comments from parents and students and community members as well too. So along with that, these instructors, they are trained in the instructional strategies that are needed for at-risk students. Susan just got back from a national at-risk conference, which Fox Valley Tech supported her financially to attend. That student ratio is crucial as well too, 14 students to 1 teacher. So they have that trust in their teacher. I mentioned earlier the on-site programming. This helps our students take that next step into post-secondary enrollment and perhaps other certificates as well too. Also, it allows us, if a student is withdrawn from our program for a variety of reasons, we can just walk them down the hall to the Adult Basic Education Lab and say, if you want to complete with the HSAD or GED, we'll support you, and this is the process you use. So that's also been helpful as well too for those students that unfortunately the 40 we have not been able to see to the end. Again, because of that program availability, we've had students complete in welding. We had 8 students this year in our nursing assistance program. We've had students in the training, the CDL, our commercial driver's license program. Again, these are opportunities that have been funded out of our grant. So therefore, we're allowing these students to receive those certificates along with their diploma from the Oshkosh Area School District. The community partnerships, again, they keep enhancing the connections that we have. As Susan mentioned, Chad Foster coming here. We've had numerous authors, not just from the Wisconsin area, but across the nation that have come and presented and spoken at our graduation ceremonies and so on and so forth. So we've reached a lot of different community members as well as people outside of the Oshkosh area as well too. And again, that support that we feel and we see keeps motivating us to look at what else can we do for these students.
There's a bullet point that is completely missing off this page, and I'm going to bring it up, and the bullet point is this lady right here, without question. Because having her as integrally intertwined into our program as she is, has created more of an opportunity for us to actually do the tough part. She is the phenomenal one also, because they know that she's there. The biggest question I get is Lisa here today? Is Lisa here today? It's true. They need her. She helps motivate them, and she's got a skill set that my colleagues and I do not have. And to be able to rely as much as we do on her is one of the reasons why we are successful as well. And that needs to be mentioned.
Thank you. It is a team effort. Thank
You're
you, but
welcome.
it is very much a team effort.
At this point, I think, you know, the reasons that we bring this forward is, and I know we've had this question every year about this time, why do we have this waiting list and what are we doing about it? Well, we want to give you the data and suggest that, you know, we would need to find an additional amount of money because it's not in any projections at this point. However, when we think about what would we have to do in our regular setting in order to create relationships in an appropriate environment in our regular high schools, we would probably be looking honestly at even more dollars, because we probably would need to create smaller environments with more one-to-one assistance, because you know, I hope that sometime, if you haven't done that, you might go through when the tech program is in operation and observe the kind of environment and the interactions with Colette, Susan, and the other instructors, and just see. I think probably Mr. Eliason has seen that for sure, and I think Mr. Mack has, and I have in the past. I haven't been over there recently, but I have in the past, and it's very engaging. See, I think I could even be engaged in some of those conversations, even at my age. They look at me strange, but the fact of the matter is that it's a specialized environment. And when I arrived in this district, and Dr. Herzog certainly remembers that, we actually had in our middle schools programs of about a similar size with some of the same goals, really, to create close relationships where students could feel safe, and it was an environment where they didn't have to wonder if they were going to get thrown out, kicked out, welcomed, or whatever on any given day. And I know for a lot of reasons we moved away from those and so on. But I couldn't help but thinking back to that as I was reflecting on this whole thing and what we might have to do if we were going not to use this kind of an option. whether we keep the number of seats we have or actually expand it. And I think I need to say that some of this conversation might come up again at the May workshop, because at that time, I believe we're going to be working on the whole presentation regarding the total alternative ed program and the at-risk plan. And this is a slice of it, certainly, but at any rate, I think there are so many factors that will overlap, and we're doing it, you know, again, it's all about relationships, like you've heard in the previous workshop.
You are correct about the history on that, and at the Quest program,
yeah.
I don't go back much farther than the Quest program.
Okay.
But I've talked with people who do.
Okay.
And the high schools,
Yeah.
the high schools had programs that used to be called Pride.
Yes.
And they took
Correct.
content area teachers, I don't know all the details,
Yeah.
but there was a smoking area out behind at
Yeah.
least one or both of the high schools where these kids needed breaks and so on. But they were doing all kinds of things to maintain them in schools and increase graduation rates.
Yeah.
And the middle schools in that era had a program called GET, which stood for Get It Together.
Mhm.
And I think about the time the deans came in was about the time GET had exited. I'm not sure about that. Someone with more history in the district could fill you in. But my point is that the need for alternative programs predates even the Quest program in this district. And as I've said before, this kind of education is important for every one of those individuals, for those families, and for this community. When I came in tonight, I heard my name called by someone in the audience, and I turned and looked at this woman, and I said, "I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, but I recognize your voice." And she was the mother of one of the East students, and I inquired about her son, who had been at East in that era. He's a graduate. Her daughter, one of her daughters, had been a teen mother. She graduated with honors. So those are just two at-risk students who have been successful because of the efforts of people like Lisa and people in the East program, the Quest program, and programs such as Riverside. So there's definitely a need, and I'm hoping we can figure out a way to fund those kids, because when you're 16 or 17, 4 to 6 months in your life is very different than 4 to 6 months in the life of someone over the age of, let's say, 40. And so I think we should find a way to shorten that waiting list and serve these students.
As Dr. Gidley mentioned, when we talk with you in May, we're looking more at that LTED plan and identifying more of the goals district-wide. We will be having a new PK, alternative and supportive education program. It's kind of our new title for our LTED plan. So you'll be hearing about that in the future.
Sure.
Will this be coming back as an individual resolution, or will it be coming back as part of the plan as a collective?
Well, that'll be your determination, and I think Mr. Mack and I probably need some guidance on that.
Yeah, it would be our plan, after you hear the proposal that we'd be bringing to you at the second meeting in May, a plan to authorize restructuring of some additional services. And so that's our plan in place, so that we move along, because hearing the rest of the whole picture, that will be the part 2 of this presentation, will be first meeting in May. So, but I would just like to speak to the issue of, I've been associated and around at least 11 distinct alternative programs in my career. And this is the best for combination in really three main reasons. Number one, it's the quality of the staff that have staffed it, and their relationship, as I watch them and have observed them in engaging with students, is second to none. The students absolutely know that their teachers care about them, and that there is a relationship. It isn't just on symbolism, it is real. And the caring. You just think about what was enunciated tonight about the first graduate and the 100th graduate, and knowing the details of each of those individuals. That's just fantastic to know the history, the connections, certainly there. The other piece that I think is so critical is that engagement with post-secondary in having a future. every day, and when I'm in high schools, I'm always asking students of any age, what are your plans after high school? And the thing that drives me most crazy is, I don't know. And here we have an opportunity in a focused environment with reaching down from the technical college to help students steer into a myriad of wonderful choices between the campus here and campuses here, as well as Appleton, in creating that connection, and then having outstanding faculty from the technical college extend their hand and reach down to reach our students. It is a mutual benefit. It fills their classes, but it makes the mission of the organization be complete. And if we're looking for long-term building a relationship in success of students, as you described earlier, they stay in our community, they need to be employed, and they need to be successful, and they will be our next generation parents. Why wouldn't we want to celebrate that? And that, to me, is just an outstanding venture, and the creators of this are to be complimented, but those who continue to carry it on are the outstanding all-stars, the true missionaries in education today. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, lastly, we have follow-up on referendum results from the exec team.
And we are going to be fast. Our goal was
You
to
have
be
7 minutes.
Yeah, to
You
get
have
you through
7 minutes,
before 9 o'clock. And so,
Turn into a pie.
yes. And this was strategically placed last because we knew we can compress good news.
Yeah. That's not the compressed guy. Sue, stay on him.
Nice. I have to even make it even faster than that if I can't connect to this.
I think we want to start by just thanking the community for their support. I mean, it was overwhelming and pretty phenomenal, and we want to thank the community for that.
Yeah, I think the point of the workshop was really to just sit down and outline a few of the next steps that we're going to have going forward. First thing that we're going to be working on is planning the 14-15 with full funding for the current program, courses, and activities. Okay, so that's fairly easy. We're going to continue working on the strategic plan. That's one of the things we've talked about, was bringing that back, because as you can imagine, we've cleared off quite a few things off that strategic plan just in 12 months. So now it's time to actually kind of recenter back on that, do another status update, and say, okay, these things are coming off the strategic plan. Here's some next steps that will go forward. We're obviously going to be moving forward with our technology plan now that we have a solid direction. And the first project that we're going to be working on is equipping all classrooms with technology with the start of the 14-15 school year. So that is a project we're working on presently. That will cover most of the 800 or so classrooms in the district. So that'll be the next step. We're going to be upgrading some of the Wi-Fi infrastructure in advance of the students' access to technology at high school level, and teachers will be receiving greater access to technology starting with the 14-15 school year. In addition to that, as part of our day jobs, we're also converting over to Infinite Campus, a new student information system, and that is going to be a very large task. It's going very well right now, but there's the biggest hurdles are coming yet with some of the trainings we're going to do, because this really will change a lot of what we do. And it's the goal of that, just to refresh your memory, was getting at the idea of creating a state-of-the-art data system so that we can leverage some of the great work our teachers are already doing, but a lot of times they're capturing that data on their own. It is sporadic at best. It's not necessarily stored in a spot that is easily transferred or accessed, so we'll be able to resolve many of those issues. We are part of a group right now. WiseDash happens to be the state's data warehouse system. There is a system that is being created right now called WiseDash Local, and I'm on the governance committee for that, as well as the implementation and design team. So there's quite a few good things coming down the road. So, yeah.
When we institute Infinite Campus and stuff, at that point, Dr. Goodlock, is it our intent to create our buckets to collect the data at that time, or are we going to be trying to shoot it around for a year before that we actually come up with the implementation of like you and me were talking earlier about?
Right.
There's 3 levels of data collection for federal, for state, and for local, and obviously the best value that we are going to have as far as our district will be on our local level.
Right.
Is it our intent then to set, and at the onset of this infinite campus initiation, are we going to at that time have it up and kind of ready? I realize that we'll probably be working this as we go along.
No, it'll definitely be up and ready, and it'll be more widely used than what we have currently. I'm already having meetings with our curriculum and assessment team to design what those buckets will look like. We obviously have a lot of that data already. We probably won't pull much of it from Skyward. Most of it will reload fresh, just because it's just as easy, and that way we're going to be able to control how it goes in a little bit better. Some of the things we will load in from Skyward because that's the only source we have for them right now. But we should have that data in no later than the first quarter of the next school year, if not by the start of the school year. So that is just getting easier. The data analytics piece, as I said, I was used to using Infinite Campus in my previous district, and I felt somewhat blinded once I came here because I didn't have a lot of that quick, easy access. I think we're going to be able to really see some major improvements. And the WISE Dash local piece will be the dashboard design element that will allow that. That'll be really something that you'll get excited about because you'll be able to pull the dashboards yourselves. So that I'm looking forward to.
Thank you.
We did it in under 5 minutes, I think.
Wow.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Request for future agenda items? Steve?
We've got the survey back from the south side. What are the next steps? Perhaps something of a condensed workshop or maybe an actual resolution would be something we might look at.
Weren't we supposed to bring something back to the table?
I think we had tabled something previously.
We did,
to
yeah.
vote on
It's
that.
on the table.
That,
It would be scheduled, it's on the
the
table
24th?
for the 24th.
That date?
It's actually the following week, the 24th, I don't believe is the date.
Well, whatever, I remember we were
The
supposed to
second
bring.
meeting of this month.
We were supposed to bring something back
Right.
for the parents and the families out there.
Third.
That sounds right.
Mhm.
I think so.
Because it's spring break.
Mhm.
Other agenda items? Well, as far as announcements go, I thank you for bringing in your self-evaluations. If you guys could get those to me, that'd be great. And Steve and I will get together on a time to meet and resolve those. Any other announcements? Barb?
I just want to give a shout out to the North High and West High choirs and their directors, Herb Berenson and Bridget Duffy. If any of you attended the Chamber Singers concert on Saturday night, it was so spectacular to see those West and North High students with those adults in the community. Such a great evening of music and a wonderful, again, collaboration with an institution in the community with our youth. Just, it was a fabulous concert. So kudos to all of them involved.
Nice. Steve?
Kind of following in that same vein, I guess I'd like to give a shout out to our student representatives. I have really come to enjoy and value your guys' opinion on stuff. And you guys do a credit. You guys do a credit to this position.
Agreed.
Really quick question, with the proposal I wrote, would that need to be renewed, or?
I visited with your assistant principal yesterday regarding that, and we were going to be bringing back just for a board workshop, quick discussion at our next meeting, next meeting of the first meeting of the month of May. And our goal is to move from a transition to recommend for the board to consider institutionalizing this. We agreed on this as a temporary action, and to try to look to the future because we want to be able to have consistency into next school year.
If I might, instead of bringing it to a workshop, can we just bring it to policy and governance and do it? I mean, this is something that's been on.
And then just acted on, sure.
Yep, we'll put it on policy and governance. I'd
Good
like
call,
to see your
Vito.
original proposal.
Yeah, sure, I can get that printed out, and we'll have to send it out, so.
Great.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Other announcements?
Good call.
Could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
You're gonna call a roll.
8:59.
Vito,
I'm not gonna make it.
Aye.
Eliason.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Herzog.
Aye.
Hamburger.
Aye.
Saganess.
Aye.
Wiedenhoff.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We stand adjourned. Thank you for
I
coming.
have to tell you that.